Chapter 562. Protect the young master, kill them. Tang Su pulled out his sword and led a group of light cavalry to charge forward. From afar, a group of light cavalry raised their bows and arrows, and in an instant, a series of black arrows shot into the sky. Die. The newcomer raised his long sword and suddenly slashed out a frosty sword chi. Shwa. The fierce frosty chi covered the sky and covered the earth. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen light cavalrymen were already covered in frost. In an instant, their lives were taken away by the power of the frost. Tang Su's face was aghast. He leaped up from his horse and with his sword, he roared, "Lin Muyu, don't you dare bully my Seven Seas Tang sect, get down here." However, the Lin Muyu in front of him raised his palm and flew out. In the air, a sparkling ice shield quickly condensed, deflecting Tang Su's sword and tens of arrows. Still thinking of leaving? A powerful domain aura engulfed the surroundings, causing a group of Tang family's light cavalry to be unable to move. Lin Muyu stepped on the snowy light and rushed down, his long sword descending from the sky, straight towards Tang Tian's direction. Bastard! Tang Tian raised his hand and a firefox seal appeared. The firefox martial spirit roared fiercely, but just as Lin Muyu's sword fell, the tyrannical ice energy surged and the air seemed to freeze. Hiss sound of ice condensing could be heard, and the extremely hot firefox martial spirit was actually frozen. Ah! Tang Tian was dumbfounded, but his body was already unable to move. Kacha! The sword light swept past and Tang Tian was immediately split into two. His head and shoulders were chopped off from the back of the warhorse, and his upper body fell to the ground with a kacha sound. The Tang sect soldiers at the side were scared out of their wits. He killed young Master Tang Tian, he killed young Master Tang Tian. Amidst the screams, many of the soldiers had already abandoned their weapons and fled in panic. Going against such a strong holy king would only result in a crushing defeat. Swoosh! Tang Su's sword blade cut through the wind, and it was another biting cold strike. However, Lin Muyu seemed to have foreseen this. She turned around and kicked Tang Su's wrist with a blood-red cyclone surrounding her ankle. With a ping sound, she broke Tang Su's wrist. Then she followed up with another kick. Tang Su instantly fell into the weeds far away like a kite with a broken string. While he was in the air, he shouted, "Change to a white drill arrow. We must protect the young master." The light cavalrymen in the front and back arrived one after another. They switched to their longbows, drew their arrows and began to shoot fiercely. Dang dang dang, the white drill arrows hit the ice shield again and again. After all, it was difficult for one fist to fight against four hands. Lin Muyu, Esto Chi had obviously dimmed a lot. Under the moonlight, his pair of eyes actually had a faint purple glow. He looked at the enemies around him ferociously and roared, "You are courting death." Wah! His figure suddenly dashed down from the sky, and his sword descended from the sky towards the crowd, causing another few tens of people to be frozen into pieces of ice. His sword light flashed before vanishing, and he headed straight for the fleeing Tang Lu. Bastard! Tang Lu suddenly turned around, and the firefox seal in his hand soared into the sky. At the same time, the light on his sword surged. This was the light of the mid-grade earth book. An earthy yellow light soared into the sky, and the power of heaven and earth had already been activated. Flames whizzed out and went straight for the attacker's body. The ice shield collided with the mid-grade earth book's raging flames. Instantly, the flames surged and burned, and the surrounding Tang sect soldiers who couldn't dodge in time wailed miserably. The long sword in Tang Lu's hand produced a protective force, allowing Tang Lu to avoid all of the raging flames like a rock. Shwa! The sword light split the raging flames. In the end, Lin Muyu began to surpass the might of the mid-grade earth book, and the long sword flashed past. Ka! Tang Lu screamed miserably. The arm that was holding the weapon was directly chopped off. After losing the protection of the weapon, the raging flames swept over and engulfed his body. Young master! Young master! In the surroundings, a group of Seven Seas City soldiers were dumbstruck, and they were scared out of their wits. After a few seconds, angry roars soared into the sky, and one by one, they rushed towards Lin Muyu, who was temporarily in the sky without a care for their lives. At this moment, Lin Muyu continuously killed so many people, and his strength was already unable to maintain. With a light wave of the long sword, another wave of ice energy surged out, and tens of soldiers holding spears froze to death. A group of reckless fools? He laughed sinisterly, turned around and shot out like lightning, disappearing into the boundless curtain of night in the blink of an eye. It's over, it's all over. Tang Su laid on the ground covered in blood and his face was ashen. With Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, the Tang clan was already without descendants. Who would inherit half of Tang Lan's empire? Huff, huff. Amidst heavy gasps of breath, Lin Muyu dashed for nearly 5 kilometers under the moonlight before hurriedly stopping. He lifted the cloak on his head, and his young face seemed extremely resolute under the illumination of the moonlight. His eyes emitted a dense purple light, and an unending stream of Grandmaster Devil energy surged out from his body to heal his injuries. How was this Lin Muyu? He was a high-ranked devil of the 5-star devil ancestor rank. By being one of the 15 elders of the devil race and also the youngest elder. He was proficient in ice attribute absolute arts. With a light scream, Bai Bing pulled out a white drill arrow that had shot into his arm and threw it to the side. The white drill arrow emitted a clear ding sound as it hit the rock. He clenched his teeth and dense frost condensed on his palm to freeze the wound. His eyes were filled with dense rage as he said indifferently, "A mere Tang Lu and Tang Tian were actually able to injure me. Simply detestable. But once Tang Lu and Tang Tian are dead, the Seven Seas province will probably fall into chaos. Old bastard Tang Lan's lifespan is approaching its end, and I want to see who else he can rely on to inherit his authority." As he spoke, Bai Bing cried out in pain once more, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile that was extremely savage. "Lin Muyu, the rest is up to you. Hee hee." After the fierce battle, the numerous bonfires in the forest still hadn't been extinguished. Tang Su held his sword in a daze as he slowly walked between the numerous corpses, and his face was filled with regret and despair as he looked at Tang Tian's body that had been split into two. "What should I do? What should I do? If His Highness blames me, I'm afraid my entire family will be annihilated, General." The nearby captain said, "This matter can't be blamed on you. Lin Muyu is truly too strong. Moreover, he obstructed us here in the middle of the night. I'm afraid no one would be able to resist him. We'll report this matter truthfully to His Highness." "What's the use of that?" Tang Su laughed bitterly. Only he knew that Tang Lu and Tang Tian were Tang Lan's final hopes. Once these two people died, Tang Lan's world was practically equivalent to collapsing. Under his rage, not to mention himself, the heads of these 5,000 people would probably fall to the ground. Just at this moment, a woo-woo scream suddenly came from the midst of the pile of corpses. One of the soldiers who was transporting the corpses stared dumbfoundedly at the person lying in the middle of the bonfire. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Suddenly, he laughed wildly and said, "Young master didn't die, young master didn't die." What? Tang Su hurriedly raised his sword and rushed over. He knelt on one knee beside Tang Lu's body. Borrowing the moonlight and the light from the torches, he saw that Tang Tian's right arm had already been chopped off. His face and chest had been burned into a mess by the flames, and he was almost unrecognizable. His voice was extremely soft, but it was like a flickering flame of hope as he said, "Commander Tang Su. This subordinate is here, this subordinate is here." Tang Su was extremely excited. Tang Lu took a deep breath and only then did he have the strength to continue saying, "Quickly use healing medicine to heal my wounds. Also, I have a low-grade book embryo of the Law of Life in my spatial bag. Take it out, and use it to save me." "Yes." Tang Su hurriedly took out a shield from Tang Lu's spatial bag. With a light turn of his wrist, he willed it. Immediately, a green light poured into Tang Lu's body. Those burns actually slowly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although it still looked so tragic, there was already a trace of blood. This proved that Tang Lu's life could be saved. "Help me sit up," Tang Lu said in a weak voice. "Yes." Tang Su hurriedly placed a military bag behind Tang Lu and helped him up to lean against it. He said, "Young master, if you have anything to say, just say it. I'll treat your wounds." As he spoke, Tang Su opened a bottle of high-quality healing medicine, and the medicinal liquid ceaselessly poured onto Tang Lu's severed arm and burned wounds. Traces of coolness seeped into his body, causing Tang Lu to be unable to help but quiver and suck in a breath of cold air. After a while, Tang Lu said, "Commander Tang Su, don't spread the news that I'm still alive." "Yes." Tang Su nodded. Tang Lu continued, "Let the soldiers surround this place and forbid them from talking to each other. Forget about the soldiers on the periphery, kill all the soldiers who see me alive. Give their families double the compensation." "Yes." Tang Su's heart went cold. He had never imagined that Tang Lu would be so ruthless. Tang Lu's breathing was somewhat hurried as he said, Announce to the outside world that I'm already dead and that the person who killed me and brother Tian was Lin Muyu. The people of Iha country saw Lin Muyu use a supreme technique of the laws of ice in the heavenly tome monolith forest to instantly kill many people. This debt will be placed on his head. Take the corpses of brother Tian and the soldiers who died in battle back to Lanyan City and seek justice for the Tang family at the Zetian Hall. In addition, send 2 people to escort me to the Seven Seas province. Just treat it as if I, Tang Lu, am no longer in this world. Why? Because someone wants me dead. Tang Lu's eyes were filled with coldness as he said, I must die. Only after I die can I find out who it is that wants me dead so badly. I will make them pay tenfold. Yes, this subordinate understands. In addition, the news that I'm not dead can only be told to grandfather. Commander Tang Su, you must keep it a secret, understood? Understood. Find a charred corpse and treat it as my corpse. Bring it back to Lanyan City. Yes. Under the moonlight, quite a few soldiers began to cry. Tang Su's eyes were also red. After bringing the corpses of the 2 young masters, he said, Brothers, let's return to Lanyan City and seek justice for the 2 young masters of our Tang family. They cannot die in vain. The murderer Lin Muyu must receive the severe punishment of the Zetian Hall. Chapter 563. One day later, in Lanyan City, a group of cavalrymen slowly entered the Seven Seas monarch's residence. Tang Lan, Tang Wei, and Xiang Yu, who had received the news in advance, were already waiting in the front courtyard of the residence to welcome them. When they saw several soldiers carrying Tang Lu and Tang Tian's corpses into the residence, Tang Lan couldn't help but tear up. Lifting the white cloth, they saw Tang Tian's still frozen and broken body. He had been split into 3 parts by a sword and died a miserable death. When they saw Tang Lu's corpse, Tang Lan was already sobbing. The white-haired person had to send off the black-haired person. The world was extremely miserable. Tang Wei's eyes were red as she looked coldly at Tang Su and said sternly, Commander Tang Su, how did you do things? Why are you still standing there alive after Tang Lu and Tang Tian were assassinated? Tang Su didn't say anything. He just slowly knelt down and remained silent. Xiang Yu held Tang Wei's shoulder and said, Xiao Wei, calm down first. As he spoke, Xiang Yu walked forward and held Tang Lan's arm, saying, Your Highness, please restrain your grief and accept fate. What we need to do now is to immediately find out the real culprit and avenge the 2 young masters. No matter who it is, since they dared to provoke the Seven Seas Tang sect, they must bear the consequences. Xiang Yu's eyes were filled with coldness and killing intent. Tang Lan asked with a trembling voice, Commander Tang Su, what's going on? Who dares to assassinate my 2 grandsons? It was Lin Muyu. Tang Su trembled all over and said, he had the power of the sacred domain and was also well versed in the law of ice chi. The sword he used looked no different from the astral treasured sword. Your Highness, he wore a 3-star military rank and Imperial Commander level military rank. If it wasn't Lin Muyu, who else could it be? Lin Muyu? Lin Muyu? Tang Lan seemed to instantly age to the point where he was about to pass away. He slumped to the ground and said, Preserve all the evidence of Lin Muyu's assassination of Tang Lu and Tang Tian. Tang Su failed to protect them. Men, throw Tang Su into the death cell and choose a day to execute him. Tomorrow follow me to the palace. I, Tang Lan, will seek justice for Tang Lu and Tang Tian even if I have to risk my old bones. Your Highness. Tang Su knelt on the ground, his face filled with confusion. Xiang Yu walked forward and easily removed the 3-star military insignia from Tang Su's collar. He said indifferently, Trash, even 5,000 people could not save the lives of the 2 young masters. What use are you? Tang Su lowered his head and said nothing. At night, the Tang sect wore mourning clothes and placed Tang Lu's and Tang Tian's memorial tablets in the main hall. The weeping sounds of the womenfolk rang out unceasingly. Not long after, Tang Xiaoxi also arrived. Although Tang Lu and Tang Tian had always been at odds with her, they were, after all, siblings who had grown up together. Now that she saw Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, Tang Xiaoxi naturally didn't feel good in her heart. Grandpa, Tang Xiaoxi held Tang Lan's arm. Looking at Tang Lan's pale face, Tang Xiaoxi felt her heart ache. She said, Grandpa, don't torture your body. Why don't you eat something first? I can't eat. Tang Lan's voice was a little weak as she said, I did not expect that Lin Muyu would actually act so viciously, killing 2 of my Tang family's heirs in one fell swoop, severing the bloodline of the Tang sect. Lin Muyu, what have I, Tang Lan, done to you? Just come at me, why did you kill my Luer and Tian? No? Tang Xiaoxi shook her head repeatedly. Mu isn't that kind of person, he wouldn't do such a thing. Grandpa, leave this matter to me, I will definitely get to the bottom of it. No need. Tang Lan shook his head. The evidence is conclusive, it is indeed Lin Muyu. Xiaoxi, you keep watch for the two elder brothers. Grandpa wants to go see what that trash Tang Su has to say. And? Tang Xiaoxi knew that she couldn't refute Tang Lan's thoughts, and she could only take it one step at a time. Death row prison of the king's mansion. Tang Su's arms were strung up, and his body was riddled with scars. Those who entered the death row prison were naturally not treated well. However, Tang Su had trained in martial arts, and this torture was not enough to kill him. Your Highness. A group of prison guards cupped their fists and saluted. Tang Lan nodded and said, all of you are dismissed. Guard the outside well, without my orders no one is to enter. Yes. The prison guards were all dismissed, and the entire death row prison was only left with Tang Lan, Tang Su and Tang Lan's 4 personal guards. Seeing Tang Su's wretched appearance, Tang Lan nodded and said, men, release Commander Tang Su. Yes. The guards stepped forward to remove Tang Su's shackles, bringing a stool for him to sit down. Commander Tang Su, it has been hard on you. Tang Lan also sat down, saying passively, now you can tell me who was it that tried to assassinate my Lu and Tiana. Tang Su was startled. Your Highness already knows that it wasn't Lin Muyu? Tang Lan's voice was cold. Lin Muyu is currently investigating the Flame Cranes Division's case, and he was still at Flame Cranes Division last night. There is no way he could come and go without a trace and kill people hundreds of miles away. Tell me, who was it that was able to kill my 2 grandsons under the protection of 5,000 guards? I really don't know the specific identity of the assassin, Tang Su frowned, but I can be sure that it wasn't Lin Muyu because he didn't use the God-binding chains or the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd. He didn't even use the 7 luminaries' profound force or the star art. Instead, his moves seemed to be from another world, and his battle aura had a faint blood-red color. Blood-red battle aura? Another world's move? Tang Lan raised his eyebrows, saying, if you have something to say, just say it. Yes. Tang Su took a deep breath, saying, looking at his swordsmanship and battle aura, I think he is a high-ranking demon. The red battle aura was a demonic battle aura and master demon force that he deliberately used. However, this person is good at using ice laws, so he pretended to be Lin Muyu, making the world think that it was Lin Muyu's star arts Jade Snow Ice. Lin Muyu displayed the power of the Jade Snow Ice in the White Leaves Forest, and now everyone knows that he is an expert in controlling ice. The demons must also think that this can fool the world. Demons? Tang Lan narrowed his eyes. You mean to say that someone colluded with the high-ranking demons and used them to kill my 2 grandsons, right? Tang Su cupped his fists. Yes, this subordinate thinks so. Who would want the Tang clan to end its bloodline? The first possibility is Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing is under the direct command of Her Highness. If Her Highness wants to eliminate the Tang clan's military power, the first step would be to eliminate the Tang clan's descendants. The second possibility is Su Muyun. There are only 2 kings in the empire, and only Her Highness can fight against Su Muyun's powerful military power. As long as Her Highness dies, Su Muyun still has Su Yu and Luo Xan behind him, and half of the empire will fall into his hands. The third possibility is Qin Yi. The Lingnaniha nation has always been eyeing the empire covetously, and Her Highness and Su Muyun are the 2 pillars of the empire. If the Tang clan falls, Qin Yi will be one of the beneficiaries. Furthermore, with the death of the 2 young masters, there will definitely be internal unrest in the empire's military. This is what Qin Yi wants to see the most. The fourth possibility is Zheng Yifan. After returning to the empire, Zheng Yifan hasn't really taken the initiative, and his military power is also limited to the Divine Might Battalion. However, the empire already has the Imperial Guards and the Longdan Army camp. Zheng Yifan wants to expand the army, but he doesn't have the strength to do so. Once the Tang clan falls into chaos, perhaps Zheng Yifan will have the opportunity to control part of the Seven Seas province's military power. The fifth possibility is... Tang Su suddenly paused and didn't continue speaking. Tang Lan smiled faintly and waved her hand. I know everything. There are countless possibilities. My Lu, and Tiana were just fooling around, but because of their identity as descendants of the Tang sect, they were met with this unexpected disaster. No matter who killed them, I'll find out the truth and make them pay with their blood. Yes. Tang Su stood up and slowly knelt in front of Tang Lan. Your Highness, this subordinate has one more thing to tell you. What is it? Tang Su trembled as he took out a spatial bag from his bosom. It was a pure white spatial bag made of animal skin. Tang Lan recognized the spatial bag. It was a gift he had given to Tang Lu for his 18th birthday. Tang Lan's body trembled for a moment. This is, yes. Tang Su nodded. His eyes flickered with some joy. Although the owner of this spatial bag was seriously injured, he didn't die. Right now, he's already on the way to Seven Seas City. He asked me to tell your highness that he's already dead. He wants to become an invisible person and assist your highness in the dark. Tang Lan held the spatial bag and suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. There was some vicissitudes and some gratification in his laughter. Your highness, what should we do now? Tang Su asked. Follow me to the palace tomorrow. We'll use the material evidence and witnesses in our hands to testify against Lin Muyu for the crime of murder. Tang Lan's eyes were slightly fierce. This foster son of the former emperor has been tyrannical in Lanyan City for too long. It's time to let him know what retribution is. Yes. Late at night, Flamingo Division. Xiao Han flipped through the files with a distressed expression on his face. What's wrong? Can't find it? Lin Muyu sat at the side drinking tea and said with a smile. Can't find it. Xiao Han shook his head and said, Commander Yu, I think you should be concerned about the important matters that concern you. The Seven Seas King's estate has already sent out news that you've killed Tang Lu and Tang Tian. The Seven Seas King will surely seek justice from Her Highness the Empress during the Imperial Court Assembly tomorrow. Supposedly, their evidence is extremely conclusive. Commander Yu, you must be on guard against them. I know. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, What's going to come will come. Beside her, Feng Jixing stood up and said, You've been staying in the Imperial capital. We also have very sufficient witnesses. Tomorrow we'll see what material evidence Tang Lan can produce. Yes. Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon outside the window with a deep gaze and said, But who assassinated Tang Lu and Tang Tian? Who knows? Feng Jixing smiled faintly. There are too many people who want Tang Lu and Tang Tian dead, just like there are too many people who want you and me dead. Chapter 564. Empire Calendar, Year 7735, December 25th, 5 days before the Spring Plowing Festival, but today ushered in the final drama of the end of the year in the Qin Empire. In the morning, all the officials in Zetian Palace were silent, as if everyone knew that a storm was coming. Only Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Wei Chou were discussing their experiences in practicing the diamond body protection. General Feng has already practiced to the seventh heaven? Wei Chou was shocked. That's amazing. I'm still practicing the third heaven, embracing the moon. Feng Jixing patted his chest. I'm so focused, so of course I can practice fast. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me. I'll definitely teach you. Wei Chou laughed. That's great. I've always been puzzled about the embracing the moon. How can one hold the moon in one's arms? Commander, you taught me that it's very simple. Just imagine the feeling of holding a sister in one's arms. That's it. Feng Jixing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You is really misleading people. Holding a sister in one's arms. The true meaning of the embracing the moon is to be able to release and retract freely, with the right amount of strength. You can't rush it. Based on my experience, I should correct Yu's words. Hugging a soft girl in one's arms is the correct way. You can imagine the feeling of hugging a delicate jade-like girl in one's arms. You don't dare to use too much strength, but you don't want to let go. Wei Chou was shocked. General Feng is really godly, Sidu Shui sneered at the side. General Feng is leading our commander astray again. No way. At this time, Chu Yao, who was dressed in the spiritual medicine department's deacon uniform, also walked over and said, Why isn't your highness in the palace today? It's already half an hour late. I don't know, she's probably putting on makeup. Lin Muyu said. Sure enough, after a few minutes, Qin Yin arrived late. Surrounded by a group of female officials, she walked into the Golden Hall and sat down in a dignified manner. She waved her hand and said, Sirs, please rise. If you have something to report, please report. If not, please leave. Among the crowd, Tang Lan walked out shakily. With tears on his face, he said, Your Highness, you must seek justice for this old subject. What's the matter, Seven Sea King? Just say it. What exactly happened? Qin Yin asked. Tang Lan knelt on both knees and said, 2 days ago, this old subject ordered my 2 grandsons, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, to head to the Seven Seas province to recruit soldiers in order to increase the empire's military strength. Unexpectedly, my 2 grandsons were assassinated on the way there and their souls returned to the heavenly realm. This old subject's parting with this old subject is actually my last. A Tang Lan only have these two filial grandsons. Once they die, my Tang clan will no longer have any descendants. Your Highness, please give this old subject justice. What? Qinin was startled. Someone actually dared to assassinate Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi within the empire's borders. Preposterous. Has the Seven Sea King found out who did it? It's Lin Muyu, who was conferred as one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan by the late emperor. It's him. Tang Lan was filled with righteous indignation as he pointed in Lin Muyu's direction and said, the thousands of troops in the Seven Seas city all saw it clearly. It was Lin Muyu who killed Tang Tian with the star sword. It was him who burned Tang Lu beyond recognition with the king's battle flame. What? Qinin didn't receive any news at all. When she heard up to this point, she was already dumbfounded. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, Commander Yu, what's going on? Lin Muyu's expression was calm as he cupped his fists and said, I've been staying in the imperial capital for the past few days. Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixing and Fire Sparrow Division Headmaster Xiao Han can prove it. My subordinates can also prove that I never left the imperial capital. It's impossible for me to go outside the city to kill people. Tang Wei said angrily, Lin Muyu, do you still want to deny it? Who in the imperial capital doesn't know that the star's art you cultivate has a move that can freeze people to death? You ruthless murderer, you will die a horrible death. Lin Muyu looked at her indifferently and said, Princess Wei, before the truth is revealed, please don't slander an imperial commander with the rank of general. This is the cultivation and grace that you should have as a princess. The other princess, Tang Xiaoxi, sat quietly next to Qinin. She bit her red lips and didn't say a word. Her heart was already in a mess. At this time, Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I think this matter must be investigated thoroughly before we can come to a conclusion. Okay. Qinin nodded. Fire Sparrow Division Headmaster Xiao Han orders you to investigate this matter immediately. You must track down the assassin of the 2 marquises. Yes, Your Highness. Xiao Han's face was solemn. However, at this moment, Tang Lan said, Your Highness, you must not. What's wrong, Seven Seas King? Everyone in Lanyan City knows that Xiao Han and Lin Muyu are close friends. If Xiao Han investigates this case, he will definitely not be impartial. I think that we should first remove all of Lin Muyu's military power, strip her of her title and military rank, and let the Seven Seas King Palace investigate this matter. Before the truth is revealed, Lin Muyu must not be let off as a suspect. Zhang Wei was furious. He raised his eyebrows and said, Your Highness, Seven Seas King, are you going to forcibly seize the military power of an imperial commander without any evidence? No evidence? Tang Lan couldn't help but laugh. Someone bring the irrefutable evidence. Outside the palace, a guard walked in with a plate in his hand. On the plate was a waist tag, carved with the words Longdan Army Camp in gold. It was the waist tag of the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Furthermore, there were bloodstains on this waist tag, making it look extremely terrifying. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She had lost this waist tag 3 days ago when she went out of the city to check on the progress of the magic crystal cannon. It was currently being reforged, but it was actually in Tang Lan's hands. This was not good. Tang Lan held the waist tag and said, This is the irrefutable evidence, Your Highness. At the scene of Tang Lu and Tang Tian's assassination, someone found this waist tag of the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. I think it should be clear whose item this belongs to, right? This. Qinin frowned slightly. Seven Seas King, could there be a mistake? Would a commander of the empire casually give his waist tag to others? Tang Lan sneered. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart as she took a step forward and cupped her fists. Your Highness, I lost this command token 3 days ago, and I've already asked the Minister of War, Xueling, to order someone to recast it for me. Tang Lu and Tang Tian were assassinated 2 days ago, so this command token can't be used as evidence at all. The Minister of War, Lord Xueling, can testify to this matter. Qinin looked at Xueling and said, Xueling, is it like this? Xueling's black eyes met with Tang Lan's. He hurriedly lowered his head and cupped his fists. Your Highness, I don't remember such a thing. Commander, you didn't ask me to reforge the waist tag. What? Lin Muyu turned pale with fright. She couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Xueling was Tang Lan's subordinate, so he should have expected this. Tang Lan had calculated everything, so how could he make a mistake here? Lin Muyu could only blame herself for being too careless. She actually didn't notice that she had lost the token while riding her horse. Commander Yu, do you have anything else to say? Tang Lan's eyes were cold as he said, You killed my Lu and Tian, wiping out the bloodline of the Tang sect. You are so vicious. What else do you have to say? Qin Yin's heart was in a mess. She looked at Su Muyun, Feng Jixing and the others for help, hoping that they could speak up for Lin Muyu. It would be good if they could salvage the situation. However, who would have thought that Su Muyun would lower his head and remain silent? He was probably still holding a grudge against Lin Muyu for severely injuring Luo Xan. Luo Xan was still bedridden, and it was impossible for him to speak up for Lin Muyu. Furthermore, even if he did not do so, how could he let go of such an opportunity to bring down the Longdan army camp? Only Feng Jixing furrowed his brows and cupped his fists, saying, Your Highness, Lin Muyu's military exploits are illustrious. The tens of thousands of soldiers in the Longdan army camp are our greatest reliance against the demon race, the Iha kingdom and the imperial capital. Even if there is so-called evidence, we must not touch Lin Muyu and the Longdan army camp. This is the foundation of the empire. Now that your highness has taken control of the throne, you no longer need to be controlled by vile people. You can decide everything on your own. Xiang Yu couldn't help but laugh coldly, saying, Assassinating 2 marquises of the empire. This crime is probably not something that can be offset by meritorious deeds, right? Bending the law for personal gain, what difference is there between the empire's laws and a piece of scrap paper? Your Highness, this general remembers that when your Highness ascended to the throne, you had already clarified the laws and brought peace to the world. If there is conclusive evidence, then you cannot ignore the laws of the empire. Otherwise, the Qin Empire will be in danger. Su Muyun also cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, please make a judgment quickly so that the officials will not be disappointed. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at Qin Yin on the throne with a look of approval in her eyes. She nodded her head but didn't say anything. Tang Lan said, Your Highness, please remove Lin Muyu's gold military insignia and strip her of the title of Marquis Yunling. Lin Muyu murdered 2 marquises and her subordinates cannot escape responsibility. Please take away the military power of Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui and Fengxi. The Longdan army camp will have 10,000 men in a team and send them to the various provinces to act as border guards. Only in this way can we stabilize the imperial capital and make the world submit to us. The heaven-suppressing sword in Qin Yin's hand was suddenly unsheathed and she threw it out with a swing of her hand. The true dragon god binding chains circled around the blade of the sword as it flew out in a spiral. With a ping sound, it stabbed into the foot of the king's steps. Crushed stones flew everywhere and the officials were overwhelmed with shock. All of them were so scared that they kept quiet out of fear. I do not wish for anyone to tell me what to do. Always remember, you are the official and I am the monarch. Qin Yin looked at Tang Lan indifferently. Tang Lan felt as if there was a thorn in her back. The Qin Yin in front of her was like a queen and was no longer the Qin Yin that could be manipulated by others. Tang Lan didn't seem to understand this point. Su Muyun's complexion was only slightly better than Tang Lan's as he cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, then how should this matter be decided? Qin Yin lightly waved her arm and said, Come, remove Commander Yu's General Gold Star and temporarily strip him of his title. However, the military power of the Courage of Dragon Army will still be in Lin Muyu's hands. No one is allowed to have any objections. Xiao Han will investigate the matter of Tang Lu and Tang Tian's murder. When the truth comes to light, Commander Yu's title and military rank will be returned. This matter will be settled. Tang Lan's expression was dejected and she didn't say anything else. Tang Wei, however, glared with her phoenix eyes and said, Your Highness, Lin Muyu murdered Tang Lu and Tang Tian. The evidence is conclusive. How can Your Highness be so biased and still let this person continue to control the military power? Is Your Highness trying to bully our Seven Seas Tang sect? Tang Wei had a crafty and unruly personality. At this moment she didn't put Qin Yin, the Empress, in her eyes at all. Qin Yin looked deeply at her and said, Princess Wei, this isn't bias. This is for the Empire's mountains and rivers. Please remember, the one who drowned 60,000 armored demons in the wildfire plains and forced the 2 demon legions to retreat wasn't Tang Lu or Tang Tian, but Lin Muyu. Please remember, the Empire can completely lose Tang Lu and Tang Tian, but it can't lose Lin Muyu. I am the Empress and everything I do is for Great Qin. Truly preposterous words. Are the lives of our Tang clan's people not lives? I know you are sad that Tang Lu and Tang Tian were killed. Princess Wei, please calm down. Qin Yin said in a low voice. No, based on what? Tang Wei had an agitated expression. Feng Jixing's sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted as he shouted in a low voice, Men, where are the golden-armored warriors? Drag Tang Wei, the shrew who offended His Highness, out for this daddy. Chapter 565. Everyone stop quarreling. Just treat it as giving me face. In the hall, a certain person who was the target of everyone's criticism, slowly took off the 3-star gold emblem on her collar. The golden purple flower reflected a dazzling luster under the sunlight. The Empire's military emblem. How beautiful. She then took out the general's sword seal from her cosmos sack and gave it to Shangguan Jingyue. Shangguan Jingyue laughed softly. Then I'll keep it for you. And thank you. 7C King Duke Lan, you know that I didn't kill your 2 grandsons, so don't force me. Don't forget that when a rabbit is cornered, it will bite. Besides, I, Lin Muyu, am not a rabbit. Xiao Han will find out the truth behind Tang Lu and Tang Tian's assassination and seek justice for you. In addition, the Tang family's bloodline has not ended. Don't forget that Xiao Shi is also your granddaughter. In my hometown, girls can also inherit the family business. Tang Lan looked at him coldly. Many thanks for Commander Yu's good intentions. This old subject appreciates it. Our Tang family's matters will naturally be handled by ourselves. There is no need for Commander Yu to worry. Lin Muyu smiled and took off her heavy helmet. She tucked it under her armpit and turned to look at Qin Yin. Your Highness, I no longer have a military position and title. Does that mean I can no longer stay in Zetian Palace Hall? If that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Qin Yin was a little flustered. Are you angry? No, I'm going to eat my fill. There are still important things to do in the afternoon. Alright, go then. Thus, Lin Muyu strode out of Zetian Palace Hall and took Snowtreader's reins from Bai Yin. Looking at Lin Muyu's expression, Bai Yin smiled. Looking at Commander's expression, you must have averted the disaster. I've always said that those people from the Tang family always want to harm Commander. They are really despicable. Commander, am I right? That's not right. Lin Muyu pointed at her collar. Didn't you see that my general has been removed? This? Bai Yin, let's find a place to eat and drink. My treat. Okay, I know a good place to go. Lead the way. Yes. When it was almost noon, the two appeared on the north side of Tongtian Street. There were many restaurants here, and it was the most popular place in the imperial capital. Bai Yin led his horse straight to a beautifully decorated restaurant and smiled. Here it is. Clear Sky Pavilion? Lin Muyu looked up at the shop sign. Bai Yin said, Grand Purity Pavilion's wine and meat are extraordinarily fragrant, and they're also extraordinarily expensive. A single tray of Yin flour beef buns can be sold for 10 Jinin coins, and the wine and meat are even more expensive. Brat, you're killing me. Commander, you said you would treat me to a big meal. Forget it, let's go in. All right. The two of them stepped into the restaurant together. Immediately, a 30-year-old woman wearing a long pink dress walked over and said with a smile, Oh, it's you two generals. Come in quickly, this humble restaurant has a new batch of game. I guarantee you two will have a taste. Game. Lin Muyu frowned and said in a small voice, When I was cultivating in the dragon-seeking forest, I ate game every day without fail. Bai Yin laughed. Commander, you'll find out very soon. The two of them asked for a private room, and after ordering a lot of food and wine, the lady boss left. Not long after, two courtesans walked in, one carrying a pipa and the other a harp. Both of them were extremely beautiful, at least an 8 out of 10. Bai Yin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he muttered, Grand Purity Pavilion's game is really top-notch in the imperial capital. So this is game. Lin Muyu grinned but didn't say anything. She poured herself a cup of wine and drank by herself. The two courtesans began to sing. Their voices were clear and sweet and their skills were quite good. Even someone like Lin Muyu, who didn't understand music, could hear the bitterness and melancholy in the music. By the time the song was over, Lin Muyu had already finished 7 beef buns and a large piece of wild boar leg. Sirs. The girl carrying the pipa said, My name is Zhao Qin and I'm proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. My ancestral home is Cloud Province's Shangyuan Commandery, and because of the chaos of war, I came to the imperial capital. If you don't abandon me, I'm willing to redeem my value at 1,400 Jin coins. I'm willing to be a slave or a servant. At this time, the red-clothed girl on the right also said, My name is Lu Lan, and my ancestral home is Qihai Province's Pingyuan Commandery. My mother died when I was young and my father was a soldier. He died in battle against the demons half a year ago, and his pension was taken by County Chief Blackheart. With no one to rely on, I can only sell myself as a slave or a servant. If you don't abandon me, I'm willing to redeem my value at 1,000 jin coins. Lin Muyu was silent. Bai Yin said with a smile, Sirs, my lord is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. He doesn't lack women, so there's no need for you to introduce yourselves. Just play and sing and the reward will not be small. Yes. At this time Lin Muyu slowly put down the cup in her hand and said, Zhao Qin, how did you end up like this? If it was only because of the chaos of war, you could have found a good family and married them with your beauty. How did you end up as a prostitute? Zhao Qin's delicate body trembled, and her beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Sirs, please understand. After my house was burned to the ground, I was captured. They defiled my body that night. How could an unclean body marry someone? That's why I ended up in this state. Lu Lan, are you the same? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Lu Lan sat there in silence, not daring to say anything. Both of them could see that this young general in front of them had an extraordinary bearing. The confidence and calmness in his speech were not something those mercenaries could compare to. Presumably, his identity was extraordinary. Moreover, the golden purple flower embroidered on his white robe made it even more obvious that he was of high status. Bai Yin was a little surprised. Commander, why are you asking about this? Lin Muyu said, the human traffickers in Yanlanyan City are becoming more and more rampant. They abduct and sell young girls everywhere to be the singers and dancers of Yanlanyan City. Those who aren't good-looking are sold as prostitutes, and no one cares about their crimes. Bai Yin laughed. This is something that has happened since ancient times. Who cares? I'll take care of it. Lin Muyu smiled. She took out a gold note from her bosom and placed it on the table. I'll help you to redeem your freedom. But you need to tell me who sold you here. I'll follow the clues and uproot this power. Sirs, you have to think this through. The business of selling prostitutes is very profitable. The backers behind them are not small. I even dared to offend Tang Lan and Su Muyun. What can this backer do to me? Today Lin Muyu held the military power. With the strength of the Longdan army camp, it was enough to support half of the imperial capital. In addition, with the help of Feng Jixing, Xiao Han and others, the time was ripe. Lin Muyu could indeed do some things that she couldn't do in the past. The two prostitutes were dumbfounded. This young general in front of them actually said that he dared to offend even the Seven Seas King and the Cloud King. His identity was even more obvious. There were only two people who dared to say such words in Lanyan City. One was Feng Jixing and the other was Lin Muyu. And this handsome person in front of them was definitely not Feng Jixing. Then it was the legendary Lin Muyu who defeated the demon race in the Wildfire Plains. Zhao Qin's delicate body trembled slightly. She prostrated on the ground and said gratefully, Thank you, sirs, for giving me a new lease of life. This servant was sold to the imperial capital by a group of ruffians. I only remember, they had an organization called the Copper Dagger Gang. Everyone would carry a bronze dagger with them. Many disobedient women would die under their daggers. Copper Dagger Gang? Lin Muyu frowned and asked, Bai Yin, do you know about the Copper Dagger Gang? I do. Bai Yin ate and said, Sirs, you can't be planning to make a move against the Copper Dagger Gang, right? Can't I? That's fine, but the Seven Seas King's mansion is thinking of ways to frame you, and yet you're running off to save a girl who has lost her footing. Is this really good? Won't you disappoint Xiao Han, Feng Jixing, and the others? They won't, they understand me. That's fine. Bai Yin said, the Copper Dagger Gang is different from Situ Sen's Heaven Execution Society. The Copper Dagger Gang only lives underground, and all of their transactions are done in secret. I only know that the Copper Dagger Gang has been around for less than 3 years. The leader of the Copper Dagger Gang is a man called Lu Jun. It is said that he has dealings with the Imperial Guard and some of the lower and middle-level officers of the Major Corps. So, it won't be as easy to remove the Copper Dagger Gang as you think. Lu Jun? Lin Muyu muttered, why does this hateful name sound so familiar? This subordinate doesn't know. If Sirs wants to find Lu Jun, it's very simple. You just need to find a young and beautiful woman to use as bait. Walk in the alleys of the old city area at night, and someone from the Copper Dagger Gang will naturally receive her. Please don't. Lulin, the songstress, was like a frightened little beast as she said, the Copper Dagger Gang? Whenever they catch a young and beautiful girl, they will definitely defile her first. No, you can't. Lin Muyu flashed a radiant smile and said, don't worry with me here, no one can touch her. Bai Yin continue. Bai Yin nodded and explained, the leaders of the Copper Dagger Gang are divided into 10 ranks from low to high. The lowest rank is called Snakehead, and above it are eagle head, wolf head, bear head, shark head, leopard head, lizard head, whale head, tiger head, and dragon head. Generally speaking, snake head is just a small fry. If he captures more than 3 women, he will be promoted to eagle head. If eagle head captures 6 women, he will be promoted to wolf head. Wolf head needs to capture. This subordinate's math isn't too good, so I can't calculate anymore. Anyway, the Copper Dagger Gang's wolf head is called Lu Jun. You can imagine how many innocent women he has captured. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. She murmured, "What a great gang. If I don't destroy this Copper Dagger Gang, it will be a disgrace to my identity as a transmigrator." Bai Yin was at a loss. What is MLM, and what is transmigration? Chapter 566. At dusk, Lin Muyu returned to Zetian Palace to discuss with Qin Yin about the legislation to ban human trafficking and to get a free meal. As this matter was too serious, Qin Yin called Feng Jixing, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yan over as well. At night, everyone sat around the table. In the rising steam, the pot of pork and potatoes was giving off an alluring aroma. Feng Jixing frowned and said, "If we ban human trafficking, the implications will be huge. The female slave market in Lanyan City can bring in at least 100 million gold coins every year, and all the brothels are infiltrated by the wealth of the officials. It can be said that a slight move in one part will affect the whole body. As far as I know, there are more than 40 restaurants in Officers' Alley alone that operate this kind of business. They have trained a large number of singers and dancers and are waiting for the highest price. Among these 40 restaurants, at least 10 are opened by the generals and civil officials of the Prince of Cloud Zhong's mansion, and most of the others are opened by the important officials of the imperial court. There are 3 departments and 6 ministries, and almost no one can escape. Even the Minister of History and the Minister of Revenue have opened several restaurants that trade singers. This matter, it's better to think about it at length, otherwise I'm afraid it will arouse public anger." Lin Muyu nodded and thought for a while, then said, "I know this matter has a lot of implications, so I dare not act rashly. Otherwise, I would directly dispatch the Longdan army camp to arrest them. But this matter has to be changed." "Boy, you are still thinking about the system of female camp?" Feng Jixing chuckled. "That's right." Lin Muyu said, "The soldiers of the Imperial Army are all professional soldiers. Since they are professional soldiers, they should not use female camp to stimulate their combat effectiveness. I don't know if Brother Feng still remembers, but it's not the first time that the Imperial Army's mobility and morale were affected by the existence of female camp. Many middle and low-level officers lost their fighting spirit after having female camp. When retreating and marching, the overall marching speed was also slowed down because of the female camp. Otherwise, the 20,000 Iron Blade Army cavalry would not have been chased by 3,000 armor demons and lost more than half of them." "I agree with Mu's opinion." Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting beside Qin Yin, smiled and said, "There shouldn't be female soldiers in the Empire's army in the first place. We're not some barbaric tribe army that needs women to motivate us. Now that the Empire has a complete reward system, there's no longer a need for female soldiers to exist." The commander of the Imperial Guards, Qin Yan, ate a piece of meat and did not even have time to wipe his mouth before saying, "I also agree with Big Brother's view." Qin Yin nodded. "Since we're more or less on the same page and I think the time is ripe, I'll issue an edict tomorrow morning to abolish the barracks mistress system. All barracks mistresses of the Empire will be given 10 Jin coins each." Just abolishing the concubine system is not enough. Lin Muyu said, "We still need to customize a punishment system for human trafficking. Those who forcefully abduct women and sell them as slaves will be killed. Those who forcefully abduct women and forcibly take them as wives will be whipped 50 times and fined 5 Jin coins. Other than those who voluntarily sign the contract to sell themselves, anyone who forcefully buys and sells women will be punished severely. Only this way can we make the law clear and change the bad habits that have persisted for 10,000 years in the Qin Empire." On the side, Shengguan Jingyue, who was serving everyone at the back, lightly bowed and said with a smile, "Jingyue represents all the women in the world to thank Commander Yu's great kindness. Your Highness, can Jingyue write this set of laws for you?" "Amen." Qin Yin nodded. "Then Jingyue can go busy yourself. There's no need for you to serve here." "Yes, this servant will take her leave." Shengguan Jingyue slowly retreated in a natural and unrestrained manner. Seeing this, Qin Yan and Feng Jixing couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. Qin Yin was already a great beauty, and the female official by her side was actually such a natural beauty. It was too precious. Lin Muyu seemed to have noticed something and couldn't help but smile. Big brother Feng, I'm 27 years old this year. Logically speaking, you're older than me by 5 years, so you'll be 33 years old this year. You're still unmarried. Don't tell me you won't consider it? In my opinion, this female official Shangguan Jingyue is virtuous and treats people gently. She's a good candidate. Moreover, big brother Feng, let's talk about the concubine. Feng Jixing's face was a little flushed as he said, I'm not worthy of her. How can that be? Tang Xiaoxi smiled with her dimples. Big brother Feng, as one of the Empire's commanders, is well versed in both the pen and the sword. Your appearance is also passable. Even if Jingyue's background isn't bad, she's still only a personal female official. How can you not be worthy of her? When it came to getting serious, Feng Jixing was a little timid. He lowered his head and drank the wine in one gulp. His eyes had a touch of melancholy as he said, Feng Jixing is a sinner. I carry the souls of 30,000 brothers on my back. As long as the Iha nation is not destroyed and Jiyao is not dead, I, Feng Jixing, am not worthy of marrying a wife. So, forget it. I've only been suffering all these years. I don't want her to suffer with me. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were startled and went silent. Everyone knew what Feng Jixing was shouldering. This was something that no one was willing to mention. Feng Jixing, because of his own kindness, buried the lives of 30,000 imperial guards. This was a knot that he would never be able to untie in his life. Actually, no matter how many enemies he killed, even if he really destroyed the Iha nation with Feng Jixing's personality, he would never be able to let go of it. This kind of guilt would accompany him for the rest of his life. Lin Muyu used a spoon to stir the soup pot. The boar meat and potatoes slowly moved up and down. He smiled and said, the 300,000 soldiers of the Iha nation surrounded the Fire Badger Valley. No matter what decision Big Brother Feng makes, the 30,000 imperial guards will still die. They died for the empire and now their names are already on the nation-guarding monument. They should be able to rest in peace in heaven. Big brother Feng, you have already stepped into the Holy King realm. It is only a matter of time before you advance to God realm. You will obtain eternal life and we still have a long road ahead of us. Feng Jixing was startled. He held his chopsticks and sat there absent-mindedly. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and said, if we all step into God realm in the future, the road to eternal life will be so lonely and boring. Will you drink with Big Brother Feng often? Why not? Lin Muyu stretched out his hand and looked at Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and the others. He smiled and said, with Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi and Yan's comprehension, it is only a matter of time before you step into God realm. All of us will have eternal life. No matter how long it takes, whether it is 100 years, 1,000 years or even 10,000 years, we will still be brothers and we will be together. Feng Jixing nodded his head heavily and said, all right, let's eat. This potato is a specialty of the endless forest, right? It is really delicious. That's right. Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi and asked, Xiao Shi, how is the production of potatoes in the endless forest this year? It has been planted on a large scale. The yield of this autumn is enough for the demon clan and the barbarian tribe to survive the winter. Otherwise, I am afraid it will be another hungry winter. Next spring, we will reclaim the land and plant more crops to provide food for the endless forest and the empire. Let me tell you again, potatoes can be cooked and dried in the sun. They can also be eaten after being fried, and they taste better with ketchup. What is ketchup? This? I don't know if there is ketchup in this plane. Anyway, there is one in my plane. By the way, Xiao Shi, there is one more thing I need to trouble you with. What is it? Take me to the Copper Dagger Gang, the largest human trafficking gang in Lanyan City. Pretend to be a young woman and get caught by them. Then I can follow the clues. If it is another woman, I will not be at ease. Their cultivation is too low and they will be at a disadvantage. I am so angry. Mu, you bastard. Tang Xiaoxi stared at him angrily with her beautiful eyes wide open. Her chest heaved up and down. She said angrily, won't you feel bad if I am at a disadvantage? Lin Muyu touched his nose. Will you be at a disadvantage? I only ask that you don't kill the human trafficker in one go. In any case, come to the commander's tent tomorrow night and follow me. Don't wear too luxurious clothes or you'll be seen through. Qin Yin said worriedly, I heard that those people are despicable. They will use drugs to knock out innocent women and then take them away. What if they use drugs? It's okay. I will make some spirit concentration powder and let Xiaoxi take it first. Then? Feng Jixing stared and said, what if those bastards take advantage of Xiaoxi when she pretends to be unconscious? For example, their breasts. Tell me. Tang Xiaoxi blushed. That's right. You don't feel bad for me at all. Who said I don't feel bad? Lin Muyu was enraged. He clenched his fists and the king's fighting flame lingered. If those bastards dare to touch a hair on Xiaoxi, I promise they will regret coming to this world. Okay, I promise you. In exchange you have to give me 5 people. 10 people. Yes, I want 5 Kiliarchs from the Longdan army camp to be captaincy of the Suppressing Demon Pass. There are too few high-ranking generals in the Suppressing Demon Pass. Tang Jin alone is far from enough. These 5 people must be proficient in combat training. Is that okay? Tang Xiaoxi looked at him pitifully. She looked like she would cry if he did not agree. Lin Muyu thought about it. The Suppressing Demon Pass was slowly expanding. It was also one of the main armies of the empire. Tang Xiaoxi wanted 5 Kiliarchs from the Longdan army camp to be captaincy. This meant that there would be 50,000 soldiers in the Suppressing Demon Pass, and they would be held by Lin Muyu's trusted generals. Tang Xiaoxi's move was meaningful. She planned to share the military power of the Suppressing Demon Pass with Lin Muyu. As long as he was willing, he could mobilize the Suppressing Demon Pass at any time. Alright then, but you have to treat the 5 generals of the Courage Dragon Battalion well. He still tried to show off after getting the benefits. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled and said, Don't worry. When are we going to take action tomorrow? Also, I can be the bait, but you have to prepare some troops to encircle and annihilate the Bronze Dagger Gang, right? There's no hurry. I want to meet the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang first. Leader? Qinin was surprised. Yes, to catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. If we catch the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang, we can subdue the entire Bronze Dagger Gang. Maybe Xiao Yi knows the leader of the Bronze Dagger Gang? Oh? How is that possible? His name is Lu Jun, so it's this despicable person. The Empress was so angry that her face turned red. She clenched her fists and wished she could beat up that stinking hooligan to vent her anger. Chapter 567. The next day the sun was setting and lanterns were lit up in Lanyan City. As the most prosperous city on the mainland, Lanyan City's nightlife was very colorful. The streets were full of acrobatics, lanterns, singing and so on. But this night was particularly different for Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. On the street, Lin Muyu was dressed as a merchant, with the star sword hidden in her gray robe, while Tang Xiaoxi was dressed as a girl from an ordinary family. Except for her very charming face, she was no different from a girl from Lanyan City who went out at night. It's so lively in the capital at night. Under the light of the fire, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face was full of excitement. She didn't care about what would happen soon. Instead, she was attracted by the bustling night market. She took Lin Muyu's hand and ran around. Mu, I want to eat sugar figurines. Mu, I want that windmill. Mu, I want to see acrobatics swallowing swords. Lin Muyu wanted to die. She forced herself to calm down and walked step by step toward the old city with Tang Xiaoxi. The old city was not as prosperous as the central district. It was not as bright as Tongtian Street. Along the way there were only some peddlers selling tofu pudding, wonton, and some brothels that were not doing very well. The cold wind blew, and the few remaining dead leaves on the trees danced and fell with the wind. It was extremely cold. Lin Muyu couldn't help but tighten her clothes. Looking at the sky, it was almost midnight and the time was almost ripe. In front, several drunken mercenaries stood next to a barred girl and listened to her singing. The girl was not good looking. Her face was covered with dirt, and her figure was very thin. She held a rusty peeper in her hand, and when the cold wind blew, the ragged cotton on her body danced. Her voice trembled as she sang an unrhymed ballad that was popular in the empire. I've seen the falling snow in Lanyan City, I remember the starry sky in Muyu City, I hear the flute of the dragon-seeking forest. When the breeze blows through the wildfire, it blows away the blood and hatred. How many stories have been trampled by the iron hooves of the Iha kingdom, how the bards have composed heroic ballads. Her Royal Highness lives in the Zetian Palace, the smoke signal of Lanyan City. Annihilates the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Lin Muyu stood far away and was a little dazed as she listened. She didn't know when her name had become a part of the ballad. The bard girl sang with a trembling voice, but it wasn't too sad. Perhaps she didn't understand the meaning of the lyrics. The iron hooves of the Iha kingdom had trampled on many stories, and perhaps only Lin Muyu would understand these stories. Clang. A shiny Jining coin fell into the empty bowl in front of the bard girl. It was a tip from Tang Xiaoxi. Thank you. Thank you. The girl hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed. She quickly grabbed the Jinyin coin and stuffed it into her pocket. Then she picked up the pipa and continued to sing. How many months had it taken for someone to be so generous as to give her a Jinyin coin? There were only 2 or 3 rusty copper coins in her empty bowl. She couldn't even buy a bun with these copper coins. Perhaps she hadn't even eaten dinner yet. Let's go. Lin Muyu held Tang Xiaoxi's hand and didn't let her give her any more money. 1 Jinyin coin was enough. Any more and this bard girl might be killed. In this world, some people were willing to do anything for money. After buying a worn-out harp from a shop on the street, she had Tang Xiaoxi carry it and pretend to be a bard girl. The 2 of them walked along the dark corridor of the old city. It was midnight and the people in the old city were already asleep. There were only a few scattered lights on the street. Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu walked slowly, one in front of the other. Tang Xiaoxi's exquisite cloud boots were hidden under her long dress. She walked on the cold stone steps, making soft sounds as she stepped on the sand. Lin Muyu was like a gray trace, about 300 meters away from Tang Xiaoxi. She followed at a moderate distance. Her footsteps were so soft that it was almost undetectable, and her aura was so suppressed that it was almost impossible to detect. However, her spirit pulse technique was spread out and captured all the auras in the surroundings. Woo-woo, the cold night wind blew on the eaves of the houses on both sides, making a ghostly howl. Tang Xiaoxi's hair stood on end when she heard it. She hugged the harp and walked forward carefully. She lifted her hood, revealing a beautiful face. As the cold wind blew, her cloak fluttered gently, revealing the perfect figure of a girl outlined by the long dress under the cloak. Tang Xiaoxi naturally knew what kind of woman could make a man commit a crime. After walking for about an hour, there was finally a sound coming from an alley not far away. Tang Xiaoxi immediately became alert, but she didn't stop walking. She still walked forward step by step with the harp in her arms. The sound of footsteps came and a man in a black robe slowly walked out of the alley. He walked straight up and said with a foreign accent, "Miss, may I know how to get to the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce? Please don't misunderstand. I'm a foreign merchant and I'm lost here." Tang Xiaoxi pointed to Tongtian Street in the distance. "Thank you, Mississippi," the man nodded and smiled, but a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Only after observing from a close distance did he realize how beautiful this bard girl was. However, he remained calm and walked past Tang Xiaoxi. When their backs were facing each other, he suddenly turned around and took out a piece of cotton cloth to block Tang Xiaoxi's mouth from behind. A strong smell of medicine came, and Tang Xiaoxi knew that the person she was waiting for had finally appeared. The man closed his eyes and pretended to faint on the ground. He laughed and said, "Finally a big fish. Haha, this time I, Hosaner, can at least upgrade to an eagle head." Sure enough, there was a copper dagger hanging on his waist. Lin Muyu had no intention of letting this Hosaner carry Tang Xiaoxi to their lair. She leaped forward and a Saint Realm pressure swept out. When Hosaner's palm was 7 to 8 centimeters away from Tang Xiaoxi's chest, an invisible pressure fell on him, immobilizing him as if he had seen a ghost. At this time Tang Xiaoxi, who was lying on the ground, got up and raised her hand to slap Hosaner's face. "Smelly pervert." Lin Muyu stepped forward and grabbed Hosaner's collar, saying with a frosty expression, "Don't speak or you're dead." "Who are you?" Hosaner's voice trembled. "The person who wants your life." Lin Muyu opened her palm lightly, and the jade snow frigid energy surged, creating an icy energy field around them. Suddenly Hosaner felt as if he had fallen into the abyss of death. When Lin Muyu retracted her palm, Hosaner's face was as pale as a sheet, as if he had died once. What do you want?" "I don't want anything, just be obedient and I can spare your life." "Hero, as long as you don't kill me, I won't go west if you tell me to go east, I won't dare to chase a chicken if you tell me to beat a dog." Hosaner knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Lin Muyu smiled in satisfaction. This was the kind of person she wanted to knock on the door, so she nodded. "I want to see the Copper Dagger Gang's leader, Lu Jun. Can you take me to him?" "You want to see the leader?" Hosaner was dumbfounded. "Why can't I?" "Hero, I'm not qualified enough. If you want to see the dragon's head, you need to be a level 5 shark head in the gang. I'm just a mere snake head, the smallest in the Bronze Dagger Gang." "Then who's the highest level person you can see?" "It's the tiger head Lord Dog." "Lord Dog?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Alright, I'll go see this Lord Dog. But Lord Dog doesn't meet people usually, I have no reason to meet him." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She reached out and hugged Tang Xiaoxi's shoulder, pointing at her beautiful face with her right hand. "If you get such a beautiful woman as a meeting gift, Will Lord Dog still not see you? This, Hosanna's forehead was full of sweat. He said, if you betray your brothers in the gang, you will lose an arm and a leg. If you don't take me to see Lord Dog, I guarantee that both your arms and legs will be cut off. I'll take you there, hero, don't be impulsive. Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out the dagger from Hosanna's waist. She pressed it against his back. She said, let's go, take us to see Lord Dog. Yes. Under Hosanna's lead, they passed through a damp alley. Further ahead, there were actually 2 burly men guarding them with sharp blades in their hands. One of them grinned and said, Hosan, how come you have the time to come to the branch today? Who are the 2 behind you? TSK, this little girl looks so pretty. Come, let me touch you first. Hosanna was trembling with fear as he said, Fei Hu, the man behind me, this man is my new follower. The woman is my prey. This woman is to be presented to Lord Dog. You can't touch her. Presented to Lord Dog? Fei Hu squinted his eyes. He said lightly, Humph, it's really like a fresh flower in a vase. Go in, mother *her, God really made a mistake, letting you catch such a delicious new product. Hosanna nodded and walked in with Lin Muyu. In the alley, it seemed to be a completely different world from the outside of Lanyan City. There were people sitting on both sides of the road, either eating meat and drinking wine around the bonfire, or holding a woman in their arms, touching each other. Lin Muyu frowned, holding Tang Xiaoxi's hand with one hand and didn't say anything, while Hosan didn't dare to act rashly. He had seen Lin Muyu's ability, and acting rashly would be courting death. At the end of the alley, noisy cursing and laughter came from a dilapidated house. After Hosanna knocked on the door, a man wearing a wolf head emblem on his chest came out and asked with an arrogant look, Hosan, what are you doing here? Hosan pointed at Tang Xiaoxi behind him and said, I just caught a new product with my little brother, the product is very good, and we want to present it to Lord Dog, please inform him. The man's eyes greedily looked at Tang Xiaoxi's face for a while, then said, wait here, I'll go inform him. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Come in. Chapter 568. The room was filled with smoke. A large group of people were gambling around a big table and smoking a very strange kind of cigarette. It must be a kind of drug in this world. Lord Dog, she's here, the wolf head said respectfully. At the table, a bald strong man looked up. There were 2 scars on his face. One of them was from top to bottom, so he was blind in one eye. There was a white iron egg in his eye socket, which looked very scary. But his other eye was staring at Tang Xiaoxi. When he saw the girl's face and figure, his eyes lit up. He laughed and said, Hosan, you're really lucky. Such a good girl has fallen into your hands. Hosan smiled and said, Lord Dog, I hope you can put in a good word for me in front of the Supreme Dragon Chief. Master Ho laughed and said, don't talk nonsense. After you give this girl to me, I'll recommend you to the Supreme Dragon Chief. You'll be promoted 3 times. It's not a problem for you to be a barehead. Thank you, Lord Dog. Who is this person? He's a new face. Reporting to Lord Dog, this little brother is a friend I recently recruited. Oh, I see. Promote him to be a snakehead. Yes, thank you, Lord Dog. As he spoke, Lord Dog walked over with a greedy look in his eyes. He reached out to touch Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face and said, it seems that Lord Dog is going to be a groom tonight. Lin Muyu's gaze swept across the room. There were a total of 12 people in the room. Other than Elder Dog, who had a tiger's head, there was also a whale's head and 2 sharks' heads. The rest of them were all small fry. All of them had arrogant expressions on their faces. To be able to rise to his current position, he must have defiled many young ladies. Hence, Lin Muyu's killing intent was instantly ignited. Wow! Suddenly a chill spread out with Lin Muyu at the center. The Saint Realm quickly enveloped the surroundings, causing everyone to be speechless. He smiled at Lord Dog and raised his hand to push away the hand that was touching Tang Xiaoxi. Lord Dog, do you know who the girl you're about to take advantage of is? Under the pressure, Lord Dog's bald head was covered in sweat. He could barely speak and his voice was very hoarse. I don't know. Who are you? Lin Muyu gently lifted the gray robe in front of her chest, revealing a glittering golden purple een flower. She smiled and asked, do you recognize this? The purple een flower was the emblem of the Qin family that only members of the royal family and the military could wear. The golden purple een flower was the emblem of the Qin family that could only be worn by deputy generals and kiliarchs. Behind the purple een flower, there was a golden 6-pointed star for kiliarchs, 2 stars for captaincy, and 3 stars for generals and generals. Although Lin Muyu didn't have any stars, having a golden purple Een flower was enough to prove her identity. Lord Dog's body trembled. We don't have any other intentions. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. She smiled and said, "Bring me to see the dragon head." "Don't even think about it." Lord Dog growled. "Really?" Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and pulled out the star sword from her robe. The bright light illuminated the whole room. Her figure flashed and disappeared. In the blink of an eye, there was only a pile of corpses left in the room. Only Lord Dog and Ho San were left from the Bronze Dagger gang. They didn't even let out a scream during the process of killing. "Who exactly are you?" Lord Dog asked, his heart filled with despair. Tang Xiaoxi laughed. "He's a soldier of the Empire, and he's also someone who can wield the aura of a saint-level expert. How many high-ranking military officers in the Empire have reached the saint level, and how many of them are so young? Can't you guess?" Lord Dog's face turned even uglier. Could it be wind, rain, thunder, and lightning? Lin Muyu smiled. "I'm Lin Muyu, ranked second in wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Lord Dog, as long as you bring me to see the dragon head, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll kill you and find other people from the Bronze Dagger gang to see Lu Jun." "You." Lord Dog's breathing was very rapid. The people outside didn't notice the change in the room. Even if they did, they would still die under Lin Muyu's sword if they rushed in. How could a motley crew be a match for a holy king? Moreover, the identity of the girl who came with Lin Muyu was even more suspicious. Looking at her incomparably calm appearance, her strength was probably not inferior to Lin Muyu's. For a moment, countless thoughts flew through Lord Dog's mind. In the end, he could only choose despair. The weak couldn't beat the strong. If he still wanted to cause trouble at this time, he would simply be seeking his own death. Sigh. After a sigh, Lord Dog said, "Could it be that Zetian Palace has already set their eyes on the Bronze Dagger gang?" "It's not Zetian Palace. It's me who has set my eyes on the Bronze Dagger gang." Lin Muyu said indifferently, "You guys go around robbing women. Your sins are so heavy. It's time for you to receive your retribution. Besides the dragon head Lu Jun, who else can do it? Other than me, there are 2 tiger heads, 9 whale heads. You just killed one. There are 17 lizard heads and even more leopard heads. How many people does the Bronze Dagger gang have? I've already recorded them. There are nearly 7,000 of them." Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. She couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. There were so many people. How could she catch them all in one net? This group of people from the Bronze Dagger gang wasn't as easy to deal with as Situ Sen's Heaven Execution Society. Most of the people from the Bronze Dagger gang had killed people before. Moreover, each of them had a lot of sins. Lin Muyu didn't plan to let any of them go. If she didn't catch them all in one net, this operation would be considered a failure. "How can I see the dragon head?" Lin Muyu continued to ask. Lord Dog was a little dispirited and said, "My lord, we're just trading people to make a living. Please don't kill us all. Stop talking nonsense. I'm asking you, how can I see Lu Jun? Where is he?" "The dragon head, Stop hemming and hawing." Lin Muyu spread her hand and the king's battle flame danced fiercely. She said, "Lord Dog, do you think I can't bear to kill you?" Lord Dog's whole body trembled, and his face became even paler. "The dragon head lives in a manor in the south of the city. He spent 700,000 gold coins to buy a manor from a high official half a year ago. He also bought many female slaves to keep in the manor for fun. In addition, the dragon head spent money to build a private army. It's also in the manor. There are about 3,000 soldiers with excellent equipment. You should give up. 3,000 soldiers?" Lin Muyu smiled. "My brave dragon legion has 70,000 soldiers. Is it enough to encircle and annihilate him?" At this moment, Lord Dog understood that Lin Muyu was determined to uproot the Copper Dagger gang. He sighed and said, "My lord, if you can promise me one thing, I can help you." "Speak." "I have an old mother, 4 sons and 3 concubines. If I help you, you can't hurt them no matter what. Also, you must spare my life. Otherwise, I won't cooperate even if I have to fight to the death." "I won't hurt the sinners. Don't worry. Can you tell me now?" "And if my lord wants to uproot the Copper Dagger gang, you have to do it at noon the day after tomorrow. Because the day after tomorrow is the Dragon Head's birthday, he has invited many nobles of Lanyan City to his manor. More than 80% of the Copper Dagger gang's members will attend. As long as my lords surround the manor, You can capture them in one fell swoop. After saying this, Lord Dog softly slumped on the chair. It was as if these words had exhausted all his strength. He stared at Lin Muyu and said, "My lord, you can either not do it or you have to destroy the entire Copper Dagger gang. I, Lord Dog, have done this kind of thing that will let the gang down. I don't want to be chased by the remaining people of the Copper Dagger gang." "And I understand. Don't worry." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. It seemed that she didn't need to meet the dragon head anymore. If she wanted to meet him, she could directly use force. In the wee hours of the morning, after dealing with Lord Dog's evidence, she summoned Wei Chou, Sidu Sen and the rest and issued a secret order. The Longdan army camp quietly left the city during the night. Nearly 70,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp were already outside the city. Bai Yin brought a group of people to control Lord Dog and waited for the dragon head Lu Jun's banquet the next day. When night fell, Lin Muyu also left the city and brought Tang Xiaoxi to set up camp in the Longdan army camp outside the city. Wei Chou, Situ Sen and the other captaincy of the Dragon's Courage Legion were all there. Each of them was filled with excitement. This time, the encirclement of the Copper Dagger gang's manor could be said to be carrying out justice on behalf of the heavens. This group of righteous generals were filled with anticipation. Suddenly, the voice of a messenger came from outside the tent. "Commander, someone requests to see you." "Who is it?" "I don't know. It's a woman. She won't say, but she has the Empress's golden token." Tang Xiaoxi said, "Maybe it's Shengguan Jingyue?" "I don't know. Let her in." After the tent's door was opened, a graceful beauty wearing a long robe walked in. After lifting the cloak, a beautiful face was revealed. She inhaled the aroma of the food in the tent and smiled. "Smells so good. Is there a share for me?" In an instant, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Fengxi, and the rest were scared out of their wits. They rolled away from the table, knelt on one knee on the carpet and said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Highness." The person who came was none other than Qin Yin. "Xiaoyin, why are you here?" Lin Muyu smiled in surprise. Qin Yin pouted and said with some annoyance, "You're still talking about it? How could you not tell me about such a big commotion?" "Fortunately, little she told me. I've already received some information. Many of the people attending Lu Jun's banquet tomorrow are very difficult to deal with. Perhaps if I go with you, I'll be able to resolve a lot of unnecessary trouble." "That's good too. Come, have supper with us?" "Okay. If brother you didn't mention it, I would be embarrassed to take the initiative to eat." "Io, why are you so shy?" Lin Muyu looked at her teasingly. Qin Yin's pretty face turned even redder. She said to Qin Yin, who was behind her, "Yin, bring people back to Zetian Palace Hall. Don't let anyone know that I'm not in Zetian Palace Hall. Do you understand?" Qin Yin placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and said hesitantly, "Cousin, you don't want me to follow the Longdan army camp to annihilate the Bronze Dagger gang?" "No way. Quickly return to Zetian Palace Hall. Just treat it as helping cousin." "All right then. Men, leave 100 Imperial Guards to protect His Highness. The rest follow me back to Zetian Palace Hall." Chapter 569. It was close to noon, and the warm winter sun shone unreservedly on the earth. Nearly 10 li south of Lanyan City, between two small towns, a luxurious manor stood on the map of Lanyan City. At this time, there was a continuous stream of carriages entering the manor. They were all nobles from Lanyan City, and some of the carriages even had golden purple flowers embedded on the wheels. There were a total of 4 entrances to the manor. The main gate faced west, and 2 golden statues of goddesses glowed dazzlingly under the sun. These 2 statues were gilded, symbolizing wealth and nobility. Carriages entered one after another under the stone statues, and the owner was welcoming them. He was a man in his 30s, and although he looked like a rat, he wore a brocade robe embroidered with gold. He was the man who had once tried to kidnap Qin Yin in the dragon-seeking forest, Lu Jun, the chief of the Copper Dagger gang. Several private soldiers in armor stood behind Lu Jun, long swords at their waists. Their expressions were ruthless, and even their smiles seemed very stiff in the face of a group of nobles. Perhaps they were more suited to an expression of anger. Gurgle. Gurgle. A carriage embroidered with tiger patterns entered the manor under the protection of nearly 100 guards. Lu Jun hurried forward with a face full of smiles, saying, "General Wei Yuan, welcome to my humble abode. I, Lu Jun, apologize for not going out to meet you." The curtain of the carriage was lifted, and a general with thick eyebrows and big eyes walked out. It was General Wei Yuan Tang Xiao. As the son of Tang Lan's cousin, Tang Xiao had long since been promoted to a high position. As a second-rank General Wei Yuan, he could be considered to be famous in Lanyan City. He was in charge of nearly 30,000 troops from the Seven Seas City, and his name was known far and wide. Lord Lu Jun is too polite. Tang Xiao smiled faintly, saying, since it's Lord Lu Jun's birthday, how can the Seven Seas Tang sect not come to congratulate you? Unfortunately, His Highness the Seven Seas King is busy with official business and can't make it, so I, a lowly General Wei Yuan, have come to congratulate you on his behalf. Men, bring Lord Lu Jun a birthday gift. A few soldiers quickly worked together to carry a huge wooden plank over. The things on the plank were covered with red cloth. Tang Xiao smiled and said, my lord, don't you want to see what His Highness the Seven Seas King has prepared for you? Lu Jun beamed with joy as he walked forward. After pulling off the red cloth, he discovered that it was a pai shio made of gold. It weighed at least 100 pounds, which was already very valuable. Not to mention the carving was very detailed and lifelike, which made its value even more difficult to estimate. For a moment Lu Jun was grinning from ear to ear. Your Highness is too polite. How can I enjoy this? Tang Xiao laughed out loud. Lord Lu Jun, there's no need to be so polite. We are in a cooperative relationship. The Seven Seas Monarch has a message for me to convey to you. A what? Recently, the demons and the Iha Kingdom have been restless, and the survival of the Empire is at stake. Therefore, His Highness has decided to expand the army and recruit the warriors in the province. This requires more provisions, weapons, salaries, and other materials. Therefore, His Highness the Seven Seas King has decided to increase the commission of all the restaurants, casinos, and workshops that the Tang family cooperates with you by 10%. I hope that Lord Lu Jun can consider the overall situation of the country. This. Why can't I? Tang Xiao narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. Yes, of course. Since His Highness the Seven Seas King has spoken, it's a small matter. General, please report to His Highness that this additional 10% of income will be sent to the Seven Seas King's mansion from this month onwards. His Highness can rest assured. Good, good. Tang Xiao patted Lu Jun's shoulder and laughed. Your Highness is far-sighted. You will definitely achieve great things in the future. Then, shall I go in and drink your birthday wine first? Please come in. Please come in. Looking at Tang Xiao's back, Lu Jun couldn't help but clench his fists. His face was livid as he whispered, this group of vampires. It's not easy to do business, and they actually increased the commission. Sigh. A private army leader behind him said, Boss, this can't be helped. How can we not bow our heads when we are under the low eaves? Half of Lanyan City is under the control of the Tang family. If the Tang family doesn't protect us, I'm afraid more than half of our shops can't be opened at all. This 10% of income can be considered as filling the appetite of the King of Hell. That's the only way. Lu Jun gritted his teeth and asked, are all the people from the 6 ministries here? The people from the Ministry of Rights, the Ministry of Appointments, the Ministry of Revenue, and the Ministry of Justice are all here. Basically, they are all officials with the rank of assistant minister. However, the people from the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Works are still nowhere to be seen. Last month, the Minister of War, Xueling, chose 3 maids from us to be his concubines. Don't worry. We have him under our control. It's impossible that he won't come. Our boss is wise. In less than a few minutes, the neighing of war horses could be heard from outside the manor. The people from the Ministry of War had indeed arrived. Moreover, there were nearly 200 of them. The person who was wearing battle armor was the Minister of War, Xueling. He actually came to offer his birthday congratulations in person. Lu Jun hurriedly stepped forward, cupped his fists, and laughed. The minister's presence brings light to my humble abode. You really give me too much face. Please come in. Xueling held the reins and did not dismount from his horse. He spurred his horse and led his entourage into the manor. When he passed by Lu Jun, he turned to look at him and said with a smile, Boss Lu, what a grand show of extravagance. Such a birthday banquet is probably comparable to a noble's birthday. Minister, what are you talking about? Please come in, please come in. Watching Xueling leave, Lu Jun's expression became even uglier. The leader of the private army behind him said angrily, what an arrogant and conceited Xueling. He didn't even dismount from his horse. He doesn't take us seriously at all. Lu Jun turned around and looked at him coldly. He is the Minister of War with hundreds of thousands of soldiers and horses. We are the underworld ruffians of Lanyan City. Why should he take us seriously? Correct your attitude. We are businessmen. We get rich through harmony. Don't fight with others for a moment of pride. Yes, I understand. Lu Jun turned around and looked at the road outside the manor. He said, the people from the Ministry of Works probably won't come. I don't have much of a relationship with the Minister of Works, Yang He. It's almost time. Boss, let's go into the main hall to prepare for the birthday ceremony. Don't let the guests wait too long. Okay, let's go. The extravagance of the manor's main courtyard was in no way inferior to that of the Zetian Palace. Qilin patterns were engraved on the huge pillars, and ancient patterns were engraved on the surface of the pillars. The patterns were glimmering, and only when the guests got closer to take a look did they discover that those patterns were actually all sorts of valuable precious gems that were embedded on the stone pillars. The wealth of the Bronze Dagger Gang had already reached the point where it could rival half a province. The main hall was very spacious. Young girls in faintly discernible gauze dresses walked through the crowd with plates of fruits and wine. These young girls were at least above average in beauty. The Copper Dagger Gang made its fortune through human trafficking. Naturally, they had no shortage of beautiful women. The fertile land of the Qin Empire had produced countless beautiful women. Now they were brought to a place like this. They were dressed in revealing clothes and allowed the guests to grope them, but they didn't dare to resist at all. Lu Jun slowly walked into the main hall with a wine cup in his hand. He smiled and said, "Everyone please be quiet." When the host spoke, the crowd quieted down from the noise. Lu Jun continued, "Everyone, I am sincerely grateful that you could attend my birthday in the midst of your busy schedule. As a token of appreciation, everyone who enters the hall today can choose one of your maids to take with them." Instantly, the hall was filled with jubilation. Many guests were already drooling over the maids beside them. Now that Lu Jun said such a thing, it was simply too extravagant. Thus, many people began to fight over the maids beside them. The banquet began and everyone took their seats. The Ministry of War's Minister Xueling, General Weiyuan Tang Xiao, Su family's Commander Su Long and the others were arranged to sit at the same table. They were accompanied by Lu Jun personally. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone looked drunk. At this time, a member of the Tiger Head Gang with a copper dagger on his waist walked in and whispered into Lu Jun's ear, "Dragon Head, something bad has happened. There are traces of the Empire's army on the main road. All of them are cavalry, and there are people in all 4 directions of the manor." "What?" Lu Jun trembled. "Which army is it? Don't they know that the Ministry of War's minister is here?" It's Lin Muyu's Valiant Dragon Corps. How many people are here?" "Too many to count." The Tiger Head Bronze Dagger Gang member's face was ashen. "Boss, do we need to use our private army to protect the manor? Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment." "Protect the manor?" Lu Jun sneered. "Do you plan to use that motley crew to block the Empire's official army? Then what should we do? Let me think." Lu Jun looked at everyone at the banquet and suddenly cupped his fists. "Lords and generals, this lowly one has a presumptuous request." Xueling smiled slightly. "Boss Lu, please speak your mind." Lu Jun said, "One of the armies stationed at Lanyan City, the Valiant Dragon Corps, is approaching this lowly one's manor with ill intentions. This lowly one is a proper businessman. If Commander Yu wants to make things difficult, please help this lowly one." "Lin Muyu is here?" Xueling gritted his teeth. "Let's see what he says when he arrives." "Boss Lu, don't panic." "Yes, thank you, Lord Minister." Tang Xiao, Su Long and the rest all stood up. Hearing that Lin Muyu had brought the Longdan army camp over, they immediately sobered up. The heavy and concentrated sound of hooves could be heard from outside the manor's hall, and not long after, the sound of footsteps on marble could be heard. A group of generals from the Valiant Dragon Corps walked in with a dense group of soldiers. Lin Muyu was dressed in a white royal forest armor and walked at the front, followed by Tang Xiaoxi, Weiqiu, Sidu Sen, Sidu Shui and the rest. Behind them was a group of soldiers with longbows in their hands, the white diamond arrows glinting in the sunlight. Lu Jun did not even see the person clearly before he rushed forward and knelt on one knee, his voice trembling. "This lowly citizen Lu Jun pays his respects to Commander Yu. May I know why Commander Yu has brought so many soldiers to my humble abode today?" "First, raise your head and look at me." Lin Muyu's voice was indescribably calm. Lu Jun raised his head. The more he looked at this kid, the more familiar he felt. He murmured, you are, have you forgotten about Du Yiming? And that girl you wanted to knock out in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you've forgotten everything about Chapter 2? Lu Jun stumbled back on the marble floor as if he had seen a ghost. How can it be you? How can it be you? Chapter 570. Whoosh. Lin Muyu shook her hand, and a golden scroll appeared in front of everyone. She said, Her Highness the Empress has issued an edict yesterday to abolish the concubine system in the imperial barracks. Forcible human trafficking is prohibited in the empire. The Copper Dagger Gang is suspected of trafficking and abducting the citizens of the empire. All of them will be arrested. Anyone who dares to disobey will be killed on the spot. Lu Jun's face was ashen. He hurriedly looked at Xueling and Tang Xiao. The Copper Dagger Gang's business network in Lanyan City was too big. It involved almost all fields. If the Zine Flower Chamber of Commerce and the Dragon Chamber of Commerce controlled the economic lifeline of Lanyan City, then the Copper Dagger Gang controlled the entire black market. The Copper Dagger Gang paid nearly 10 million jinyin to the Seven Seas Palace every month and bribed the Minister of War, Xueling, with millions of jinyin. They couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Tang Xiao slowly walked forward and put his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist. He smiled and said, Commander Yu, let's talk it over. We have always been observing the Copper Dagger Gang's business. They are honest businessmen. All the slaves have contracts signed by the Ministry of Revenue and the local government. It is in line with the Empire's laws. They are not human trafficking. I hope, Commander, you can understand. Is that so? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and pointed at Tang Xiaoxi behind her. She said, 2 nights ago, Princess, she passed by the old district of Lanyan City alone. She was almost drugged and taken away by the Copper Dagger Gang. The evidence is conclusive. Is General Wei Yuan trying to defend the Copper Dagger Gang? Tang Xiao looked at Tang Xiaoxi in shock. After all, Tang Xiaoxi was his niece, so he couldn't say much. Seeing that Tang Xiao was silent, Xueling stood up and said, The Bronze Dagger Gang is such a big gang, so it's inevitable that there will be some scums. Commander Yu, don't forget that the businesses of the Bronze Dagger Gang are approved by the government, including the Mansion of the Seven Seas and the Mansion of the Cloud King. If you arrest the Bronze Dagger Gang, it's equal to arrest the 2 kings. Lin Muyu, you're just a person whose title and military rank have been taken away. What right do you have to touch the 2 kings' people? Su Long from the Su family also walked over, cupped his fists and said, Commander Yu, this matter is of great importance. I hope that you can give face to the Tang family, the Su family, and the Ministry of War. The Empress's imperial edict is very clear. As long as there is a contract of sale, it is not illegal. The Copper Dagger Gang's business has always had a contract of sale as proof. Really? Lin Muyu folded her arms and said, The department that signed the indenture in Lanyan City seems to be the Population Department of the Ministry of Revenue. Someone help me find out who the Assistant Minister of the Population Department is. There's no need to find out. Wei Chou said respectfully, It's Wang Bi. Lin Muyu nodded and said, Immediately send a letter to Xiao Han and the Fire Sparrow Department to arrest Wang Bi. Find out how he personally approved these indentures. Yes. Xueling's face became more and more livid. He said in a low voice, Lin Muyu, don't go too far. Lanyan City is the capital. Do you think you can cover the sky with one hand? Wang Bi is an assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue. Do you think you can arrest him just because you say so? Lin Muyu laughed and said, Is that so? Then what if she wants to arrest him? He gently stepped aside. Behind him in a loose white robe, Qin Yin, wearing the Empress's golden crown, stood there quietly. Her beautiful eyes were like water as she looked at the group of rebels. She faintly said, Do I have this qualification? Your Highness, Xueling, Su Long, Tang Xiao, and the others' faces instantly turned ashen. They knew that Lin Muyu's arrival was already a big trouble, but when they found out that Qin Yin was also here, they knew that this matter was irreversible and Lu Jun was beyond redemption. It's actually you. Lu Jun stared at Qin Yin dumbfounded. He had picked countless flowers in his life and had an outstanding memory for women's appearances. With just one look, he could recognize that Qin Yin was the girl that he failed to get his hands on that night a few years ago. At this moment, Xueling, Su Long, Tang Xiao, and the other imperial officials all knelt on the ground and shouted, Your subject greets your highness. In an instant, Lu Jun's face almost cracked. How could he have imagined that the girl he tried to take advantage of that night was actually the Empress of the Empire? If he had known, he would never have done such a thing. Qin Yin looked at the crowd and said indifferently, The Copper Dagger Gang violated the law by forcibly selling people. Now that the investigation has been carried out, everyone in the Copper Dagger Gang will be executed. I want to see how many people in Great Qin still dare to break the law knowingly. Minister of Population, don't use your power for personal gain. After the investigation you will be executed immediately. The Minister of War Xueling colluded with the Copper Dagger Gang. Men immediately remove his gold insignia and remove his position. Let Feng Jixing hold the position of Minister of War. Wei Chou walked forward and removed all the military insignia from Xueling's collar and shoulders. Before leaving he didn't forget to pat Xueling's shoulder and smiled faintly without saying anything. Xueling was scared out of his wits. He knelt on the ground and trembled. Tang Xiao and Su Long were so scared that their faces turned pale. They didn't even raise their heads as they knelt on the ground. However, Qin Yin didn't punish them in any way. It was as if she didn't see them at all. She only smiled at Lin Muyu and said, I will return to Zetian Palace Hall first. You will be in charge of this place. Remember to come to Zetian Palace Hall and accompany me for dinner. Yes, Your Highness. Qin Yin was protected by a group of Imperial Guards and Longdan Army Camp's elite soldiers as she walked out of the hall. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu had to face a group of trembling guests and the Copper Dagger Gang members. Men, arrest everyone in the Copper Dagger Gang. If anyone dares to resist, kill them without mercy. This time, Lin Muyu mobilized more than 30,000 soldiers from the Longdan Army Camp. It was more than enough to take down a motley crew like the Copper Dagger Gang. The Copper Dagger Gang members didn't dare to resist and all of them surrendered. Lord Commander. Feng Shi walked out from the inner hall. Behind him was a group of soldiers carrying boxes. After opening the boxes, it was impressively stacks of indentures. Feng Shi said, We found these in the back hall. Indentures? Lin Muyu smiled and said, Burn them all. Yes. The fire was ignited. This time the indentures of indentures were burned to ashes. The faces of Lu Jun and the others were full of heartache. These indentures were basically women, and these women could be sold for a high price. In their eyes, these indentures were worth a lot of money. Sidu Sen cupped his fist and said, Commander, we have captured a total of 5,472 members of the Copper Dagger Gang and nearly 3,000 private soldiers of the Copper Dagger Gang. How should we deal with these people? What does General Sen think is the best way to deal with them? Needless to say, kill them all. This daddy hates these kind of human traffickers the most. If you think that killing them will wear out your sword, then dig a big hole and bury them alive. Hearing this, Lu Jun and the others hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. At the side, Situ Shui pursed her red lips and said, Lord, I think these few thousand people should be directly banished into the army and trained into pawns. At least they can block a few attacks from the demon race in the Yihe Kingdom. No. Lin Muyu looked deeply at Situ Shui and said with a smile, This group of heartless beasts will not block the enemy's swords for us. They will only bite back at us at the critical moment. Not everyone is worthy of forgiveness and tolerance. Someone push all the members of the Copper Dagger Gang out of the manor and execute them. Those who came to celebrate Lu Jun's birthday must be present to see the execution. Yes. Xueling, Tang Xiao, Su Long and the others were even more shocked. No one would have thought that Lin Muyu would be so ruthless. On the other hand, Situ Sen cupped his fists and said, Commander, there is no need for you to be the executioner. I, Situ Sen, have also done many bad things in my previous life. Just leave the killing to me. And go. Lin Muyu turned around and mounted her horse. She rode out of the manor to watch the execution. Wei Chou followed closely behind. The cold wind outside blew their cloaks. Wei Chou narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, Lord, this subordinate has something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Speak. When the former emperor conferred Lord as one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, he praised Lord for being a benevolent general. But, if Lord is a benevolent general, why did you order the execution of nearly 10,000 captives? We, the Imperial Army, will not kill captives. Wei Chou, do you think I have changed? Lin Muyu lowered her head. The cold wind was like a knife blowing on her face. It was a little painful. Wei Chou said, This subordinate just don't understand why Lord is doing this. Okay, then I will tell you. Lin Muyu looked at the Bronze Dagger Gang members who were lined up in the distance to be executed and said, These people are willing to do anything for money. The humanity in their hearts has long been extinguished. If I spare their lives, the seeds of revenge in their hearts will continue to grow and grow. They will dream of revenge and will collude with our enemies to take revenge on us in Longdan Army Camp. I would rather see all their heads fall to the ground than see any of our brothers in Longdan Army Camp die under the swords of these despicable people. Wei Chou was relieved and said, Lord doesn't need to say more. Wei Chou understands you. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She reached out and patted Wei Chou's shoulder and said, The most terrible kind of people in the world are those who are too kind. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. This sentence is never wrong. Moreover, I hate human traffickers the most in my life. The Bronze Dagger Gang has made many fathers lose their daughters. Many children lose their mothers. Many husbands lose their wives. They deserve to die. Yes. Ka ka ka. Blood splattered everywhere. More than 8,000 heads piled up on the ground outside the manor in the blink of an eye. Su Long and Tang Xiao were both people who had experienced the Battle of the Steel Wall, but they still felt a chill in their hearts when they saw this kind of massacre. Lin Muyu, who was one of the four greats of Lan Yen, had unknowingly grown into a famous general who was as brave and courageous as Feng Jixing. If they were to become their enemies, it would be their misfortune. Chapter 571. Winter nights always came very early. Wugu City was already shrouded in the night and the lanterns were lit. The city that had suffered a disaster had finally recovered some of its original prosperity in the past few years. The original population of Wugu City was less than 500,000. Under the continuous attraction of people from various states and counties of Changnan Province, it had recovered to the scale of nearly 1.5 million people this winter. At night, the streets were bustling with people and there was an endless stream of merchants. City Lord's Mansion. Several bleak jujube trees were planted around the backyard of the City Lord's Mansion. As the cold wind blew past, the jujube trees made a rustling sound. A few of the brittle, withered branches finally couldn't endure the winter and fell to the ground with a crackling sound. Su Jiantao sat on a stone bench in the courtyard, carefully wiping the long sword in his hand with a piece of cloth. The body of the sword glowed with a faint golden light, which was the luster of engraved characters. This was a long sword with a low-grade earthly tome embryo, and it had just been sent from Lanyan City not long ago. Su Jiantao knew that this was Lin Muyu's masterpiece. Only the talented foster son of the former emperor could make such a perfect work. A mysterious grade weapon, a level 4 engraving, and a low-grade earthly tome embryo. How rare was it? And this long sword, which might not even have a second one in Lanyan City, was now in his hands. After wiping the long sword, Su Jiantao strode to the center of the courtyard, concentrated his qi, and in the blink of an eye, a luster of do qi extended from his body. The next moment, the cold sword light was a set of swordsmanship. At the same time, his body was enshrouded with a faint golden luster, which was the sign of the Vajra protection technique's third heavenly realm. On the side, a guard said with a smile, "Governor, your Vajra protection technique should be able to reach the fourth heavenly realm soon, right? The governor's martial arts comprehension is also one of the best in the entire empire." Su Jiantao couldn't help but laugh. "Don't talk nonsense." Lord Commander stepped into the Saint realm at the age of 26. This kind of cultivation can be counted on one's fingers. I'm still far away from him, having grown so many years older. How can he be compared to Lord Commander? He is a rare genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. Otherwise, the former emperor wouldn't have accepted him as his godson. Look, Commander Feng Jixing and Commander Chu Huayin have followed the former emperor for many years, but the former emperor didn't accept them as his godson. The former emperor's eyes are like torches, there's no need to mention this. That's right, the former emperor saw through everything. Su Jiantao sighed and looked up, only to see a branch of a jujube tree falling from the sky, heading straight for his head. However, when it was less than 5 centimeters away from his head, it encountered the Vajra body fortification aura shield and immediately shattered into pieces. These annoying date trees. The imperial bodyguard said, "Tomorrow this subordinate will order someone to chop them down." "No need." Su Jiantao smiled. "Keep it. What's the use of keeping them? One day we will grow old and have children around our knees. At that time, every late autumn, we can harvest dates to make our children happy. Isn't that a wonderful thing?" Haha, Lord Governor is right. This general has learned something. "How is the situation in Lanyan City?" "There's no big movement." The imperial bodyguard said respectfully. Su Jiantao sat back on the stone bench and wiped the sweat on his forehead. He said, "When will the people who went to the steel wall come back? How's the preparation of the supplies for the steel wall?" The imperial bodyguard said, "They should be back tomorrow morning. The supplies are almost ready. It's enough to feed and clothe 100,000 people for half a month. Governor, our Changnan province spends so many supplies every month to supply the steel wall, but we don't get any reward. Doesn't Lord Governor feel wronged?" "Haha, to be able to block the iron hooves of the demon race, What else is there to feel wronged? At this moment, a cold aura suddenly surged. Not good. Su Jiantao hurriedly unsheathed his sword and shouted, "Summon the sword guards." What's wrong? The imperial bodyguard turned pale with fright. Above his head, a cold murderous intent surged. It was an assassin with a long sword in his hand. His whole body was overflowing with a frosty aura. A deep blue icy aura suddenly fell, blasting straight at Su Jiantao's head. This sword aura was shockingly strong. Su Jiantao instantly knew that his protective aura would not be able to withstand it. Without hesitation he reached to his waist and pulled out a short dagger. The dagger flashed and a rich yellow light soared into the sky. Snowflakes fluttered around it, instantly condensing a huge ice shield in front of the dagger. Mid-grade Earth Book Embryo, Ice Shield Technique. The assassin's sword aura bombarded the ice shield. Under the collision of strength, Su Jiantao stumbled back. The light on the dagger dimmed in the blink of an eye. A mid-grade Earth Book could only block an easy blow from the opponent. Go to hell. The assassin's handsome face was slightly twisted. Blood-red Grandmaster demonic chi danced wildly around his body. As the long sword slashed down, Su Jiantao had no way of dodging this attack. It was too fast. No matter how fast Su Jiantao ran, he would not be able to dodge it at all. The blade in his hand trembled rapidly. The low-grade Earth Book was activated. Su Jiantao felt as if all the strength in his body was about to be sucked dry. Suddenly his body began to split apart. In the blink of an eye, his body reformed tens of meters behind him. Low-grade Earth Book of the Law of Space. Shwa shwa shwa. Numerous cold arrows shot out from the mansion. A dozen or so Longdan army camp soldiers with swords hanging from their waists and crossbows in their hands appeared. The arrows were blocked by the assassin in the air. Under the moonlight, the assassin's handsome face looked very much like a person. Lin Muyu. Furthermore, the blade in his hand was glowing with faint starlight. This made Su Jiantao and the rest very confused. Could this person be the murderer who assassinated Tang Lu and Tang Tian? The only difference was that this person did not hide his identity as a demon. The Grandmaster demonic chi and demonic battle energy danced chaotically. With a long sword in hand, he descended from the sky with a powerful aura wrapped around his body. Bang! The mansion that was tens of meters tall was instantly turned into dust. The three Longdan army camp soldiers were unable to move. When the sword flashed past, they were already dismembered. Use the Heaven Book to form the formation. Su Jiantao shouted. Everyone dispersed. The long swords in the hands of the three guards flew up into the sky. It was the middle-grade Heaven Book of the Law of Fire. Bai Bing's body was surrounded by a thick frost cyclone. She could not help but sneer, "What kind of stupid Heaven Book is this? I'm not afraid. Bring as many as you have." Release. Su Jiantao shouted in a low voice. In an instant, the three middle-grade Heaven Books with the words, "Fire God extinguishes the world," were activated together. Countless flames rained down from the sky and swept away the frost around Bai Bing. Only now did Bai Bing sense the might of these three heavenly tomes, and it was far from something that the Heavenly Book of the Laws of Fire in Tang Lu's possession could compare to. The strands of flame energy bore into his body from every pore and burned the spirit energy within his meridians, causing the layer of ice on his body to shatter and melt inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, the armor before his chest had turned completely red and was swiftly melting. My God! At this time Bai Bing finally felt fear. A piece of skin on his right arm had already been burnt. Waves of heart-wrenching pain came from all over his body. Bastard! Bai Bing endured the immense pain and slashed out a frost sword chi. Pooh! A Longdan army camp soldier holding a Heaven Book embryonic sword was immediately slashed in half. He did not even have the time to scream before he died. Release the arrows. Su Jiantao ordered in a loud voice. More and more soldiers rushed over from the mansion. The densely packed white drill arrows danced in the air. In the blink of an eye, Bai Bing's chest and arms were already pierced by at least 7 to 8 arrows. However, the arrows did not penetrate too deeply into his flesh. They did not even injure his bones or internal organs. The body of a 5-star demon sect powerhouse had been tempered countless times. It was really too tyrannical. Bai Bing was full of shame and anger. He originally thought that he could perform a miraculous feat and kill Su Jiantao here. However, he did not expect that he would be defeated by the Heaven Book. He raised his palm and layers of frost formed a whirlwind that blocked the white drill arrows. When the frost storm dissipated, everyone could not see Bai Bing's figure anymore. This 5-star demon sect powerhouse had already escaped. Su Jiantao held the long sword with a dim light. This long sword of space law allowed him to directly teleport once and also saved his life. He stepped on the broken bricks and walked towards the courtyard. Looking at the mess on the ground, Su Jiantao could not help but secretly sigh. There were so many people and so many embryonic heaven books, but they still could not kill this demon clan assassin. Governor, the guard at the side said bitterly, we lost 7 people. Got it. Su Jiantao looked up to the sky and sighed. The demon clan has already targeted me. It's all my fault for letting everyone follow me to take such a risk. Governor, don't say that. We are soldiers of the Empire. We can die for the Empire at any time. It's better to die in battle here than to wait for death in Lanyan City. I know. Send a letter to Lanyan City and tell Commander Yu everything that happened today. Yes. 3 days later, in Lanyan City, a letter arrived at the commander's tent in the Longdan army camp. It seems that the demon clan really have their eyes on Su Jiantao. Lin Muyu slapped the letter on the table with some irritation and said, forget about the 2 Wangfu scheming against us, but the demon clan also came. Sidu Sen and Wei Chou pulled the letter over together and looked at each other in dismay. Sidu Shui only took a glance and knew what had happened. She smiled gently and said, Darren, Su Jiantao is guarding Cangnan province and providing troops, food and combat materials for the Steel Wall. He has long been a thorn in the demon clan's eyes. If I am the commander of the demon clan, I will first get rid of Su Jiantao and then attack the Steel Wall. Lin Muyu was startled. If using General Shui's deduction, does it not mean that the demon clan will soon make a comeback? Sidu Shui was surprised. I just said it unintentionally. Darren, is there really such a possibility? Wei Chou asked. The demon clan has been dormant for 7 months. It is reasonable to say that they are indeed unable to hold back. Chapter 572. Zetian Palace, Yang Xan Pavilion. Purple smoke slowly rose from the incense burner, lingering around the pavilion before dispersing with the wind. Qin Yin, dressed in a plain dress, sat on the dragon bed with her palms crossed over her abdomen. Rays of golden energy were generated from the true dragon god binding chains and accumulated between her palms. Not long after, her long dress began to dance slowly, and rays of golden dragon power flew out. She couldn't help but let out a moan. A sharp pain came from her high, as if her entire soul was about to be shattered. Xiaoyin. Qin Han looked at her from afar and whispered, don't give up. Success or failure depends on this. Concentrate all the power in your high into your soul. You must break through this shackle. Wu. Qin Yin closed her eyes tightly, her long eyelashes trembling slightly. Her spiritual sense sank into her high and she condensed her body. She held the heaven-suppressing sword in her hand, but she saw that her high had become a chaotic space. The space between heaven and earth was completely distorted, turning into an invisible force that crushed her high. It was as if a huge whirlpool had descended from the sky to crush her high. This is the spirit-breaking stage. It is a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity. You must master it and break through it. Qin Han's voice came from the sky above her high, like an oracle. Qin Yin gritted her teeth and raised the heaven-suppressing sword with both hands. The dragon power in her body continued to gather into the sword. The sword light shot up into the sky, and the image of a divine dragon lingered around the sword light. In terms of mastery of dragon power, Qin Yin was indeed unparalleled. The sword light pierced through the sky and entered the huge black whirlpool. But there was a roar of thunder in the sky, as if it was resisting Qin Yin's counterattack. The chaotic whirlpool descended quickly, crushing her to the point where she almost couldn't breathe. If this continued, her high would probably explode and become barren. Hong. Under the activation of the dragon power, an azure dragon broke through the sky and lingered around Qin Yin's sword. In the next moment, it pounced into the chaotic whirlpool in the sky. This was the power of the Dragon Slayer Formula's 6th stage, Azure Dragon Break. The Azure Dragon entered the whirlpool and roared continuously. Rays of golden light shot through the darkness of the chaotic whirlpool, but after nearly half a minute, the dragon's roar gradually stopped and its power disappeared. Azure Dragon Break didn't work. Qin Yin's beautiful face was covered in sweat, and her face was a little pale. She gritted her teeth and continued to activate her power. This time she activated almost all of the dragon power in her body. In an instant, golden light soared into the sky, and images of primordial divine dragons appeared around her. Under the infusion of the dragon power of the true dragon god binding chains, these dragon images solidified into true dragons covered in golden scales. Thousands of true dragons were at the same level as Qinin, and they charged into the sky. Buzz buzz buzz, heaven and earth trembled, the entire Ehai was on the verge of destruction, but Qinin had to give it her all. This dark chaotic energy had been entrenched in her Ehai for half a month. If it was not destroyed, Qinin's realm would remain stagnant, remaining at the first heavenly layer of the Saint Realm. Roar roar roar. Thousands of golden dragons rushed into the chaotic vortex, spitting out dragon flames and unleashing dragon power. They wreaked havoc wantonly. For a moment, the chaotic vortex began to distort rapidly, and the originally dark space also began to shine with golden light. Pung! An explosion sounded and the chaotic whirlpool instantly collapsed. The sky above the Ehai returned to a clear state. But Qinyin's entire body's strength was almost depleted. She stood blankly in the sky above the Ehai, breathing very quickly. At this time, Qinin noticed that there seemed to be a new kind of energy slowly gathering in her Ehai. She looked up and saw that above the Ehai had returned to a calm state. Rays of light appeared in the surrounding seawater, gathering continuously in the sky, as if a newborn baby was being born. That is, Qinin was stunned as she watched. As the rays of light became denser, a pure and holy aura and power filled the entire Ehai space. She slowly flew over and got closer and closer to the core of the rays of light. Finally, she could clearly see that under the countless rays of light, there was actually a small gemstone. This gemstone was only the size of a bean, but it was incomparably lustrous, transparent, and beautiful. Moreover, Qinin could actually feel a vast and boundless power from this small gemstone. Moreover, this power was completely different from the power of Doqi. This is godhood? Qinyin's spiritual sense slowly flew out of the Ehai, and after returning to her body she let out a deep breath. She could not help but look up at Qinhan and said, "What is going on, ancestor? What happened to my body?" Qinhan sat upright in his chair, his eyes filled with love. He smiled and said, "Shaoyin, ancestor wants to congratulate you. You are probably the first person in tens of thousands of years to successfully nurture the god of destiny." Destiny over godhead? Qin was baffled by Huang Xiaolong's explanation. Qinhan nodded and explained, "Do you still remember 10 days ago when your Ehai began to turn dark and you could no longer use the power of your soul?" "I remember." This phenomenon is called the chaotic demonic whirlpool. It is a phenomenon where the power of darkness between heaven and earth invades the soul. The power of darkness is the same as the 8 great laws. It is a spirit that lives among all things. It will only invade the purest of souls. Therefore, the birth of the chaotic demonic whirlpool in the Ehai is a kind of misfortune. The probability of this misfortune occurring is less than 1 in 100 million. Qinhan smiled slightly. "Fortunately, you have one of the strongest bloodlines in the world, the true dragon bloodline, and the dragon slayer art that Chu Chu taught you has tempered the power of the true dragon bloodline. Therefore, Shaoyin, you can use your true dragon bloodline to dispel the chaotic demonic whirlpool and form the god of destiny within your body that has been nurtured for decades." "Ancestor, I still do not understand." "In short, Shaoyin, you were born extraordinary. You were destined to be extraordinary when you were in your mother's womb, because in the depths of your Ehai, there is a god of destiny that exists in the form of spiritual power." "God of destiny?" "That's right. Your cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds these past few years. I think the biggest reason is the awakening of this god of destiny." Qinhan stroked his white beard and smiled. "All cultivators in the world can only form their own god of destiny through cultivation after they step into the divine state, but you were born with a god of destiny, and it is the god of light, a god of destiny that can only belong to a god emperor. This is the god of destiny that the ancestor spoke of. The probability of having a god of destiny is originally only 1 in 100 billion, but you actually have the body of the god of destiny. I'm afraid the probability is only 1 in 100 billion. Qinin sat there in a daze. "But ancestor, Shaoyin, don't be confused. Your power has been released. Give it a try and see what kind of cultivation realm your power has reached now." "Oh," Qinin was dubious. She opened her palm and exerted force lightly. Suddenly, a fiery red fighting aura rose. This power was all too familiar. It was the king's fighting flame, one of the powers that Lin Muyu was proud of. My king's fighting flame." Qinin was overjoyed. "Ancestor, Shaoyin has stepped into the holy king realm." Qinhan smiled slightly. "It's far more than that. Shaoyin, you are still used to using the power in your qixi. This way your power will not be at its strongest. You can try to summon the God of Destiny and use the power derived from the God of Destiny to try again. Yes. Qin Yi nodded and slowly opened her palm. The power of her Yi gathered, and the young God of Destiny seemed to be summoned. Suddenly, golden light shot out from Qin Yin's palm. Not long after, a bright and transparent golden crystal pillar broke out of her body and slowly hovered in her palm. The power that the crystal pillar emitted was several times stronger than the king's fighting flame. This, Qin Yin's beautiful eyes almost turned into crescent moons as she said, "Ancestor, such a strong power." Qin Han looked at Qin Yin and was extremely shocked. He could feel with certainty that Qin Yin, the Holy King, was the strongest Holy King he had ever seen in his life. Her true power was even comparable to that of an ultimate god. Little Yin, this transparent crystal pillar is a type of pure light energy crystallization. It can be used for both defense and offense. You must use it wisely. As far as I know, in the myriad realms divine realm, only one extremely powerful God Emperor has comprehended this kind of power in hundreds of millions of years. Its true name is the Celestial Dragon Crystal. It is one of the most tyrannical law of light attack methods in the world. Perhaps it is not even one of them but the strongest. Really? Qin Yin's eyes widened and she was already cheering from the bottom of her heart. She smiled and said, "Ancestor, I can finally help brother you. I don't have to sit in Zetian Palace and wait for everything to happen, right?" "Yes." Qin Han nodded and said, "Your current strength is indeed not below that of you. Even if you activates the 7 Luminaries Fairy Sword and the 7 Luminary Stars transformation, he may not be a match for the Celestial Dragon Crystal. However, Xiaoyin, your understanding of the Celestial Dragon Crystal is still too little. Cultivate for a period of time and master it first." "All right. Thank you, Ancestor." "You're welcome." Qin Han squinted and said, "There is one more thing. Xiaoyin, you must remember." "Please tell me, Ancestor." "You are a person with the Destiny Lord Godhead and the Celestial Dragon Crystal is a rare ability in the 3 realms. You must remember to keep it a secret. Don't use the Celestial Dragon Crystal unless it is absolutely necessary to prevent others from seeing it. Once this news spreads out, I'm afraid the entire heaven realm will be shaken. After all, you have the Light Law Lord Godhead. In the future, you will definitely be the master of the Light Law in the heaven realm. Perhaps, some narrow-minded gods will not hesitate to use their divine power to descend to the human realm to kill you. When that time comes, 1 or 2 ultimate gods and divine kings will be fine." "Yes, thank you, Ancestor. Xiaoyin will keep it in mind." "That's good. Go back to Zetian Palace and cultivate. I will be in seclusion for a month." Yes, Xiaoyin will take her leave. Chapter 573. The night passed and the sun rose. When the first golden ray of dawn shone into the tent, Lin Muyu could not help but yawn. She had been busy for the whole night, but there was only one finished product. Sure enough, not everyone could master the engraving technique and the heavenly writing technique. "Dong dong," Wei Chao's voice came from outside. "Commander, breakfast is ready. Shall I send it in for you?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. Wei Chao pushed the door open and entered. He was wearing the military uniform of a senior officer in the Longdan army camp. The 2 golden stars on his collar shone brightly under the morning sun. As a senior general, he had always maintained the identity of Lin Muyu's personal guard. He personally delivered food and other things. Unless it was Bai Yin's turn, he would always stay outside the tent and wait for orders. Lin Muyu took a look. The food was very sumptuous. There was wine and meat. There were 2 full pots of dishes. She could not finish it alone, so she smiled and said, "Drag the chair over, you can eat with me." Wei Chao nodded and smiled. "Okay, thank you very much, Commander." The 2 of them sat opposite each other. Lin Muyu took the wine pot and drank a mouthful of wine to refresh herself. Then she grabbed the steamed bun and ate it with the pork. The night of engraving and the heavenly writing technique had almost exhausted his spiritual power and physical strength. He had to replenish it. Wei Chao sat there respectfully. He turned around and looked at the large pile of fine steel armors beside him. He could not help but exclaim, "Sir, you didn't sleep for the whole night again?" "Yes." "If General Shui was here, I'm afraid she would scold you again." "Ah yes." Lin Muyu's heart warmed. Although Situ Shui was a mercenary, she was very good to her and Wei Chao. Could be said that she cared for them very much. If she saw that Lin Muyu did not take care of her body, she would definitely fly into a rage and scold her. She did not care about offending her superiors. She just regarded herself as the life committee of the Longdan army camp. She had the final say in everything such as life and army accounts. However, after having Situ Shui as the housekeeper, Lin Muyu was a lot more relieved. At least there would not be any major problems in the logistics. Otherwise there would be Situ Sin, Fengshi and a group of rough men. If the logistics were in chaos, the entire army's combat power would be greatly reduced. Wei Chou looked and said, Sir usually uses the tool embryos that are easy to carry. Most of the weapon embryos are sharp swords and daggers that are easy to be carried. Why did you use them to engrave and write this time? I have my own uses. Lin Muyu stood up with a bun in her hand. She picked out a piece of armor from the pile and held it in her hand. Look at this. This is my most outstanding work tonight. Oh. Wei Chou took the armor and held it in his arms as if it was precious. He took a closer look and saw that the front of the armor was engraved with additional seals. There were a total of 3 seals. The first seal was the soaring seal, which reduced the weight of the armor. This fine steel armor that was at least 50 kilograms only felt like 20 kilograms in his hands. The second seal was the dragon-slaying seal, which provided the wearer with a certain amount of dragon power. The third seal was the Imperial God seal, which could resist the pressure of domains. Just these 3 seals were enough to determine the value of this armor to be more than 1,000,000 Jinin coins. However, Wei Chou could faintly feel the power of heaven and earth in the armor. He turned around to take a look. As expected, the back of the armor was filled with very small divine texts. He gently brushed his hand over it. Instantly, a faint indigo light flew out, and snowflakes lingered around the light. It was the low-grade heavenly book embryo of the ice shield technique. Low-grade heavenly book? Wei Chou was shocked. His entire face was a little pale. He said, Commander, you actually wrote a low-grade heavenly book. Oh my god, this news will definitely shock the entire Lanyan city and even the entire Shattered Cauldron Realm mainland. No. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, Don't tell anyone whose work this is. I don't want to be the target of public criticism. There are already a lot of troubles from the Iha Nation and the Demon Clan. I don't want to get involved in the Heavenly Book Pavilion's dispute. Wei Chou, this armor is specially made by me for Su Jiantao. After wearing this armor, even an ultimate god wouldn't be able to kill Su Jiantao so easily. At least, they wouldn't be able to kill him in a short period of time. Send someone to send this armor day and night to Five Valley City and hand it over to Su Jiantao. Tell him that he can't die. He's too important to me in the Empire. The highest military order I'll give him now is to keep his life. Yes. Wei Chou nodded and stopped eating. He hugged the armor and said, Sir, I'll do it right away. You're not eating? You can eat any time, but you have to do it well. Okay, go. As soon as Wei Chou left, Lin Muyu wolfed down the food and then fell asleep. She had no idea that many things were happening in the Empire, such as Qin Yin's birth of a divine spark with a mortal body. In the blink of an eye, it was already late at night. Zetian Palace, East Court, Tang Xiaoxi's residence. A group of Imperial guards slowly walked through the door with their swords in hand. 2 maids stood quietly in front of Tang Xiaoxi's door, waiting for any orders. The hall was warm. Tang Xiaoxi sat quietly on the bed, streams of flame spiritual energy circling around her body. As a cultivator, Tang Xiaoxi had never given up on cultivation. After all, Lin Muyu had once told her that as long as she stepped into the god realm and became a god emperor, she would take her back to another world to live a different life. Regarding this, Tang Xiaoxi was very hopeful. She wanted to know what Lin Muyu's hometown was like. She wanted to know how big Shanghai was and how the population was more than Lanyan City. She wanted to know how blue the sky of Lijiang was. She wanted to know what a highly civilized society was like. To Tang Xiaoxi this was like a dream that she was never willing to give up. She was willing to give up her life in exchange for a period of life. She knew what was most important to a girl. The sound of the drizzle moistening the soil, the sound of the flowers blooming. These were far more important than wealth and glory. Xiaoxi, an extremely seductive voice suddenly reverberated in her mind. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but tremble. The flames around her body began to grow wild, and the 4-tailed fire fox on her shoulder also began to shriek sinisterly. What's wrong with me? Tang Xiaoxi's spiritual sense suddenly fell into her Yi. It was dark around her. There was only a ray of light falling from the sky. Tang Xiaoxi stood in the same place, unable to summon any strength. It was as if she had been cursed. He. Amidst the seductive laughter, a woman walked out of the darkness. It was another Tang Xiaoxi, another Tang Xiaoxi in a sexy short skirt. However, this was a Tang Xiaoxi who had transformed into a nine-tailed form. Her golden eyes were full of temptation, but there seemed to be an additional hint of violence. She looked at Tang Xiaoxi with a smile and said, "I finally found you." "Who are you?" Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. "I am you and you are me. We have always been one," the nine-tailed fox said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi was unable to move. She asked lightly, "What do you want?" The nine-tailed fox walked forward and used her long nails to caress Tang Xiaoxi's smooth face. "Because I am you, I know how much you love Lin Muyu. But, is love something that can be shared? You still have a great enemy. Her name is Qinin. Every day, every minute, every second she takes away the love of the person you love. Can you bear all of this in silence? You, go away." Tang Xiaoxi was a little annoyed. "Xiaoyin is my sister. For her, I can bear anything. We love the same person at the same time. No one is wrong. Don't try to drive a wedge between me and Xiaoyin." "Is that so?" The nine-tailed demon fox came to Tang Xiaoxi's back and gently hugged her. Her hands caressed Tang Xiaoxi's mounds and gently plucked them. Her voice was extremely seductive as she said, "Xiaoxi, oh Xiaoxi, since you were young, who dared to snatch your things? Do you still remember Tang Lu snatching your wooden sword when you were young? He was beaten up by Tang Lan. Xiaoxi, you are a girl born to be the only one in the world. Why do you have to bear such grievances? The thing you love is yours. As long as you are willing, it will belong to you alone. You don't have to submit to anyone. As long as you want it, I will help you take back the person you love." Her voice suddenly became somewhat ruthless as she said, "At all costs." Tang Xiaoxi's mood became even more irritable. She softly shouted in a low voice, "You, go away." Buzz. A raging flame broke out of her body. Tang Xiaoxi broke through the prohibition and transformed into the nine-tailed fox. The raging flames circled around her. She raised her palm and shouted, "Get out of my mind. Divine imprint." Boom. The divine imprint blasted into the empty space. The flame soared, but it did not hit anywhere. The nine-tailed fox escaped from the darkness like a shadow. Only her seductive laughter was left in the darkness. I am you. You are me. If you want my power, release yourself. Go away." Tang Xiaoxi returned to her original appearance from the nine-tailed demon fox transformation. At this moment, she hated herself for turning into a nine-tailed demon fox. The restlessness in her heart was so crazy that she could not imagine what would happen if she fell into this kind of madness. Her spiritual sense flew out of Yihai. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly woke up. She found that her bed was on fire. It was obviously caused by the uncontrollable power in her restlessness. "Come. Princess, we are here. Call someone to put out the fire. My bed is on fire." Yes. Not long after, the royal guards rushed in with buckets of cold water in their hands and easily put out the fire. "Princess, your residence is on fire. Why don't you go to Her Highness Yin's?" A maid said. "No need." Tang Xiaoxi looked at the bright moon in the sky. "Maybe Her Highness is already asleep. Help me tidy up the room in the side palace. I will sleep there." "Yes, Princess." Chapter 574. 7C City, City Lord's Mansion. There were only 3 days left until the Spring Plowing Festival. According to tradition, this was the day when all the major vassals of the Seven Seas province would have an audience with Tang Lan. Although Tang Lan was in Lanyan City, all the vassals had received invitations and rushed over from all over. War horses and carriages streamed into the Duke's mansion in an endless stream, and as one of the commanders of the Tang family, Tang Su, was in charge of all matters. The banquet was arranged in the mansion's main hall. Tang Lan had always lived a simple life, but only this main hall was magnificently decorated. A total of 17 vassals entered the main hall, and the attendants began to busy themselves with wine and dishes. In the blink of an eye, the banquet was filled with the aroma of food and wine, and everyone took their seats. Tang Su cupped his fists and said, "There are matters to be discussed in the main hall, so I would like to invite all the lord's guards and womenfolk to the side hall for a meal. I hope everyone will be magnanimous enough to forgive any inconveniences." Everyone was stunned. Among them, Count of Heavenly Secrets Lu Zhong said to his 2 sons beside him, "Chong Gershan, you two go to the side hall for a meal. Father will be staying here." "Yes, father." The group of guards and servants dispersed, and in the blink of an eye, there were only 17 people and Tang Su left in the main hall. However, anyone with a discerning eye could see that behind Tang Su was a group of 7C City Iron Guards. This group of people was clad in full armor, with swords hanging from their waists, and their eyes shone with faint killing intent under their helmets. For a moment, all the vassals felt somewhat uneasy, and one after another they took their seats. Tang Su loudly said, "Close the door." Creak. The door to the main hall slowly closed and even bolted it. "Commander Tang Su, why is this?" Among the crowd an old man asked. "Reporting to old General Zhou Chong, because there are some matters that need to be kept secret." Tang Su smiled faintly and said, "Men, invite the young lord." Young lord? Zhou Chong, Lu Zhong and the rest were all startled. Everyone knew that the Seven Seas City Tang family had no more descendants. The last two direct descendants, Tang Lu and Tang Tian, had been assassinated. Almost everyone thought that Tang Lan would choose a successor from Tang Su, Tang Shi and Tang Zhen. Where did the young master come from? The side door of the hall slowly opened, and a person completely covered in a black cloak was carried in by two guards. He lifted the cloak, revealing a terrifying face that had been burned. He said with a slight smile, "What? Could it be that sirs don't recognize me, Tang Lu?" Zhou Chong was stunned. He hurriedly knelt down and cupped his fists. "Young master didn't die. That's great, the Tang family has a successor." Tang Lu said indifferently, "Many thanks to old General Zhou Chong. I'm indeed not dead. Lin Muyu wants to harm me and the Empress Qinin wants to harm me. But I won't die so easily. Our Tang family is tenacious and unyielding, so how could we submit to them?" Lu Zhong's sword-like brows were tightly locked together as he listened to Tang Lu's words without saying a word. "Sirs, please take your seats." Tang Lu said, "Just like in the past, eat and drink to your heart's content first, then we'll discuss the important matters of the Seven Seas province." Everyone didn't dare to disobey. One by one they cupped their fists respectfully and started to eat and drink. But the main door was locked, and Tang Lu had appeared in the main hall in an extremely strange manner, causing everyone to unconsciously feel their hair stand on end. This meal was bound to be a bad one. After 3 rounds of wine, Tang Lu raised his voice and said, "Sirs, please listen to me, Tang Lu." Everyone said, "Please speak, young master." Tang Lu said, "You are all loyal vassals of my Tang family and have enjoyed the Tang family's fief for many years. As you can see, the Seven Seas province is rich and populous, nurturing countless talents. We have already recruited 400,000 soldiers, and nearly 300,000 of these soldiers are in your hands. Originally, the Tang family serving the empire and the Qin family was a matter of heaven and earth. However, we were suspected and hated by others, and grandfather was bullied and humiliated in Lanyan City. It was to the extent that the person sitting on the throne wanted to obliterate my Tang family, and even sent trusted generals to assassinate my younger brother Tang Tian and I. Fortunately, I was spared from death, but little brother Tian has already died tragically in the North Ridge province. My Tang family's loyalty can be seen by the heavens and earth, yet we have received such a result." All the vassals were silent, and no one dared to express their opinion. All of them were waiting for Tang Lu's next words. So, Tang Lu smiled and said, "I have prepared a blood covenant flag for the lords. Men, bring it over." 2 guards walked over with a war flag. The flag had the emblem of the Tang sect on it, an extremely beautiful 7-cord begonia. Tang Lu said, "As long as you write your name on this blood covenant flag with blood, you will be loyal to my Tang family. Everyone, the empire is vast and boundless, but there is no longer a place for my Seven Seas Tang sect. If we do not protect ourselves, we will be wiped from the empire's map by Qinin." Lu Zhong's face was ashen as he said, "Young master, is he going to form his own sect?" "That's right." Tang Lu smiled and said, "Uncle Tianji can see through fire. Since Qinin is heartless, we cannot sit and wait for death. Lords, the Tang family prospers, you will prosper. If the Tang family is defeated, you will be defeated. After writing your name on the blood covenant flag, the alliance will take effect. If Qinin moves against our Seven Seas province, we will fight to the death." The old General Zhou Chong couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air and said, "Young master, we are rebelling against our superiors. The Tang family has been loyal to the empire for 100 years. How can it be destroyed in our hands?" "Old General." The corners of Tang Lu's mouth curled up. "Aren't you being too soft-hearted? In ancient times, it was said that an unbenevolent ruler can be replaced by an official. Presently, Qinin dotes on Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Zhen Yifan, and the others. They disdain our Tang family and make things difficult for us in all aspects. They even harm the descendants of our Tang sect. If we don't take the initiative to attack, then it is equivalent to waiting for death. Do you want a lifetime of glory or do you want your heads to roll? A young general in the crowd stood up and cupped his fists. Young master, I Dong-chan have received the grace of the emperor for generations. When the late Emperor Qingjin was alive, he even rewarded my father many times. Now that my father has passed away, Dong-chan is absolutely not willing to do anything disloyal and unjust. If young master wants to rebel against Qin, then I Dong-chan am not willing to join you. As he spoke, Dong-chan stood up and left in a huff. You're courting death. Tang Lu raised his palm, and the god condensation seal of a heavenly king tore through the sky and smashed onto Dong-chan's back with a bang. Dong-chan didn't even have the chance to let out a shrill cry before he fell against the wall and died. A large charred hole had been burned into his back, and the state of his death was extremely horrifying. Is there anyone else who isn't willing to submit to my Tang clan? Tang Lu gazed indifferently at the crowd and said, Is there anyone who isn't willing to submit? Feel free to stand up. Everyone was horrified. Tang Lu actually killed a vassal in public. How audacious and presumptuous of him. In the crowd, Lu Zhong cupped his fists while trembling. Old General Lu Zhong is willing to follow young master. Since the Qin clan isn't benevolent, then we won't be benevolent as well. The population of the Seven Seas province is in the tens of millions. If Qin isn't benevolent, then we can split the land and confer the title of king. There's no need to follow the orders of others. Tang Lu couldn't help but laugh. Uncle Tianji really is a wise man who submits to circumstances. Come, divide the Dong clan's territory to Uncle Tianji, and hand over all the military power of the Dong clan to Uncle Tianji. Lu Zhong walked forward, bit open his index finger and wrote his name on the war flag. Subsequently, the second and third people wrote their names in succession. Who wouldn't be afraid of death? After all, everyone lived to seek glory, splendor and wealth, and the so-called loyalty was sometimes just empty words. Zhou Chong was the last old general to write his name. When he finished writing his name while trembling, he couldn't help but sigh. From today onward, I'm afraid there's no turning back. Tang Lu sneered. Old general, why do you say that? Could it be that old general has already determined that my Tang clan won't be able to succeed? Zhou Chong didn't say anything, and he just walked back to his seat dejectedly and drank cup after cup of wine. Tang Lu placed his hands on the table and slowly stood up. Generals of the Tang clan, listen up. Everyone left their seats and knelt down. Boundless rage and unwillingness surged into Tang Lu's eyes as he said, The Qin clan is heartless, so we can only be unjust. From today onward, seal off the 7 seas and prohibit all trade with the North Ridge province. Everyone hurry back to your fief tomorrow morning and complete a task for my Tang Lu. First, kill all the magistrates of the provinces and counties within the fief, then destroy the Sage Temple and take all the troops gathered within the Sage Temple as our own. Those who don't obey will be killed without mercy. Everyone was terrified and they responded with uneven voices. Yes. Tang Lu narrowed his eyes as he looked at everyone. In half a month, lead all the troops within the fief to the Seven Seas city for a meeting. All the troops within the Seven Seas province will be trained and resupplied. Besides that, send more people to forge the Tang clan's begonia flower war flag and emblem, and pluck the purple blossom flower. Every single one of our 300,000 troops must wear a begonia flower military emblem. Yes. Lu Zhong immediately raised his hand and plucked the golden purple blossom flower from his collar, and his eyes revealed a cold smile as he said, The Qin clan's era of ruling the continent is completely over. Lanyan City, Seven Seas Palace. In the middle of the night, in a courtyard deep within the Seven Seas Palace, Tang Lan suddenly woke up from a nightmare. He was panting heavily and his face was somewhat pale. In his dream, he saw Tang Lu covered in blood shouting, Grandpa saved me, as if it had really happened. Someone come. Your Highness. Outside the door, an old general pushed open the door and entered. Your Highness, what are your orders? Is there any news from the Seven Seas city? Not yet. What's wrong, Your Highness? I suddenly felt uneasy. I'm afraid something is about to happen. Immediately write a letter and send it to the Seven Seas city. Tell Tang Lu not to act blindly without thinking. Now is not the time. Wait for my orders before acting. Yes. The old general paused and said, Your Highness, have you really decided? Tang Lan was dejected and he looked extremely old. He said, No matter what, I must think for my descendants, so I'm afraid this matter must be carried out. What's the situation over at the Earth Star province? How's the recruitment going? Commander Tang, she is recruiting soldiers day and night, but how can the population of the Earthstar province be so poor? I'm afraid the total number of soldiers won't exceed 150,000. 150,000. Tang Lan muttered to himself. 550,000 people. It's comparable to the number of soldiers the Iha kingdom had besieged Lanyan city. Chapter 575. A faint blood-red figure slowly condensed in the dark palace. It was an extremely seductive woman with delicate eyebrows and an enchanting spring look. She stepped on the cold floor barefoot, but if one looked closely, one would find that her body was faintly discernible as if it was transparent. She came to the back of the throne, made a bow and said, "Greetings, Holy Emperor." Creak. The throne turned around. The Holy Emperor, who was shrouded in a dark aura, smiled and said, "Yaoji, you're back. How was your trip?" Yaoji's pretty face was full of joy. She smiled and said, "Greetings, Her Highness Ning. She's doing well in Lanyan City, but the city is heavily guarded, so I couldn't take her out. But, Your Majesty, Yaoji has another gain from this trip." "What gain?" A chess piece that we can plant in the Qin Empire. As long as we control this chess piece, I believe that the land of this continent will be ours." The Holy Emperor couldn't help but laugh and said, "I trust Yaoji. What do you think, Holy Emperor?" A ray of light fell from the sky, and the golden light converged into a figure. It was the Holy Emperor in a red robe. He bent his body, and there were rays of divine light circling around him. He bowed and cupped his fists, saying, "Your Majesty is wise and mighty. With Yaoji and Marshal Qianfeng leading the three armies, I believe that we will definitely win this battle." Yaoji couldn't help but laugh and said, "Congratulations, Holy Emperor, for stepping into the divine realm." "It's just a divine realm." The Holy Emperor's eyes were very cold. He said, "I don't know how many gods above the sky are spying on our plane. I'm just a divine lord. I'm afraid they don't care about me at all. Your Majesty, I beg you to let me go with Marshal Qianfeng, so that I can refine more souls for my own use and quickly improve my cultivation. As long as there are enough souls, I'm confident that I can become an emperor god within 5 years." The Saint Emperor placed his hands on the armrests of his chair and smiled. "The Saint Teacher is a great leader of our god race. Since that is the case, then follow Marshal Qianfeng. Perhaps we will personally go to battle and bring Ning, our home." "Yes." Since the Protoss were ready to fight, the humans naturally wouldn't be negligent. Outside the Iha country's capital, 100 Ridge City, the warhorses charged forward, stirring up a cloud of dust. These 100,000 cavalrymen were all the elites of the Iha country. Every one of them was equipped with the best warhorses, weapons, armors and shields. Furthermore, they were personally trained by Long Qianlin. Qin couldn't help but feel proud. On top of the steel wall, the officials looked into the distance. Qin was wearing a dark green Iha nation military uniform with a golden dragon robe draped over his shoulders. His face was full of joy as he looked at the drill below the city wall. He pointed at the cavalry formation below the city wall and said, "Dear ministers, can this 100 Ridge cavalry defeat the demon race?" Marshal Ji Yao of the Iha nation said proudly, "This 100,000 cavalry has gathered the strongest warriors of our Iha nation, the best warhorses and the best equipment. I believe it can fight against 50,000 armored demons." Commander Yi Xuanhuan of the Celestial Legion also cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Commander, I'm afraid that only the Dragon's Courage Legion of Lanyan City can contend against the 100 Ridge cavalry. However, I'm afraid that Lin Muyu will soon be exhausted by the demon race's attack and won't have the chance to contend with the 100 Ridge Legion." "Yes, has Qianfeng's messenger arrived yet?" "Not yet." Qin narrowed his eyes and said, "Remember, the demon race can't be easily trusted just like humans. No matter how nice Qianfeng's words are, the demon race won't give up on us. This 100 Ridge cavalry is prepared for the demon race. In addition, the arrow boxes and ballistae also need to be built. Since Qianfeng has decided to attack the Empire, the Iha nation is not far from war. What do you think, Marshal Long?" Long Qianlin stood quietly at the side until Qin asked a question. Then he cupped his fists and said, "On the demon race's side, we have the Qinling Mountains as a natural stronghold, so the demon race definitely won't be able to take down the Qinling Mountains in a short period of time. However, the 3 passes on the West Qinling Mountains have already been taken by the Empire. In comparison, the threat from the Empire is greater. They can cross the 3 passes at any time and sweep across the northern territory of our Iha country. I believe that the military strength of the Iha country is slightly weaker than that of the Empire and the demon race, so we should focus on defense and wait for an opportunity to strike. What? Jiao couldn't help but smile. After several years of recuperation, the Iha nation now has nearly 600,000 soldiers again. We can be said to have a strong army. Why can't we leave the Sword Pavilion and recover the lost land in the north? Long Qianlin frowned and said, to the north of the Sword Pavilion is the border of the Empire's Zhangnan province. There are many forces there. Once a war breaks out, the demon race and the Empire's army will run amok there. The Iha nation's military strength is the weakest. As long as the Iha nation's army leaves the Sword Pavilion, both the demon race and the Iha nation will attack the Iha nation's army first. Is that so? Jiao laughed. How long has it been since the last time General Long mobilized his army? Nearly a year. No wonder. General Long has trained his army for a whole year. It seems that your spirit has been worn down. You're already afraid to fight before the war. How is this the Long Qianlin who surrounded Lanyan City? Jiao didn't hide the ridicule in his eyes. Long Qianlin was silent for a long time. Commander, do you also think that I'm afraid to fight? What are you talking about? General Long is well versed in military strategy and is the treasure of the Iha nation. If even General Long is afraid to fight, who else in the Iha nation can lead the army to war? Haha, if that's the case. Long Qianlin cupped his fists and said, I ask for your permission to let Long Qianlin lead the 300,000 soldiers of 100 Ridge City to the Sword Pavilion. In this way Long Qianlin can respond to the war at any time. This. Qin was startled. He stroked his beard and said with a smile, the demon race hasn't officially launched an invasion. We're not in a hurry. General Long, the most important thing now is to train well. After all, there are still many new recruits among the 400,000 soldiers of 100 Ridge City. Our combat strength is not enough. Yes. Long Qianlin bowed and cupped his fists. A trace of disappointment flashed across his face. Not long after, Qin Yi returned to the palace of the Southern Protector of the 100 Ridge City after leading the officials to patrol the city. His golden dragon robe was fluttering behind him, but his figure looked a bit old. Ji Yao, Yishu and Huan, and Qin Huan followed him into the palace. There were only 4 of them in the palace, and all of them had an unusual look on their faces. Ji Yao knelt on the ground and cupped his fists. Commander, Long Qianlin has many contacts with the generals of the Empire. I've intercepted the handwritten letters between him and Lin Muyu. He has repeatedly complained about the unfair treatment in the Iha nation and often expressed his desire to return to the Empire. Such a traitor. How can you continue to appoint him to lead the army? Qin Yi stood up and put his hand on the jade seal on the table. A beam of light shot out from his eyes. He said, those letters were forged by mediocre people. I can tell at a glance. General Ji, you don't need to be bewitched by people with ill intentions. You and Long Qianlin are both marshals of the Iha nation. You should work together and help me destroy the Empire and the demon race, right? But, Ji Yao wanted to say more but was stopped by Qin Yi's gaze. Qin Huan frowned and said, Father, those letters might be forged but Long Qianlin's loyalty and filial piety are real. After killing Qin Jin in the Battle of Fairy Lake, Long Qianlin has always felt guilty towards Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. He is a benevolent general who is always decisive. Once he is bewitched by Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, Father, are you confident that Long Qianlin won't be swayed? Qin Yi was silent. At this time Yishu and Huan smiled and said, the Sword Tower is the economic and strategic throat of the South Mountain Province. Once Long Qianlin takes 300,000 elite soldiers to the Sword Tower, it's tantamount to grabbing the lifeline of the Iha nation. If Commander Long Qianlin goes to the Sword Tower, I'm afraid he will take the army and join the Northern Empire at any time. General Long, he won't. Qin Yi trembled. You really won't? Ji Yao said indifferently, when Marshal Lv Zhao ordered a massacre in Lanyan City, Long Qianlin strongly opposed it. Have you forgotten the look in Long Qianlin's eyes at that time? That was a murderous look. He was born in the South Mountain Province and has always thought of himself as a citizen of the Empire. Perhaps, deep down in his heart, he has always thought that the Iha nation is a group of rebels. Qin Yi took a deep breath and his emotions gradually became chaotic. He said, then what do you think Long Qianlin should do? You should also know that Long Qianlin is a famous general. No one in the Iha nation can surpass him in military strategy. The 3 of you are far inferior to him. Do you want me to take the risk? Qin Huan said, Father, we are naturally not as experienced as Long Qianlin. However, We are all loyal to the Empire, but Long Qianlin doesn't. In my opinion, why don't we dispatch Long Qianlin to the Swift White Province and give him 100,000 soldiers to guard Fiery Moon City? In this way, once the Empire sends troops to the South Mountain, Long Qianlin will naturally be able to resist. As for the demon race, the three of us can lead the troops to resist. Fiery Moon City, Qini took a deep breath and said, I understand. Immediately take my personal order to see Long Qianlin and order him to lead 100,000 troops to garrison Fiery Moon City. He's allowed to recruit and train troops on his own, and all military equipment and rations will be provided by Sunset City. No one is allowed to slight Long Qianlin, otherwise they'll be executed without mercy. That's all. Yes. After Qin Huan and the other two left, Qin Yi felt exhausted and fell heavily on his chair. Long Qianlin was indeed talented in military affairs, but he was also envied by the Yihe nation's generals. Even his own son's attitude toward Long Qianlin had changed greatly. However, Qin Yi knew that he could not give up on Long Qianlin. He was the Yihe nation's last hope. Without Long Qianlin, perhaps South Mountain would have been flattened by Feng Jixing and Xiang Yu 2 years ago. Chapter 576. A few days later, it was another spring plowing festival. Every house in Lanyan City was decorated with lanterns and streamers. People always hoped that their prayers to the heavens would bring them good weather in the new year. However, they did not know that the weather was not controlled by the gods. It was caused by the movement of the planet, the changes in the earth, and the rise and fall of the temperature. However, all of this did not seem important. People still celebrated the spring plowing festival. It was more like a habit. Early in the morning, Lin Muyu led all the generals above the rank of captaincy in the Longdan army camp and slowly set off to Zetian Palace to participate in the Empire's spring plowing festival ceremony, just like in previous years. Zetian Palace was bustling with activity. The officials congratulated and saluted each other as if it was the spring festival. Lin Muyu could not help but sigh inwardly. He remembered that he had also participated in the spring plowing festival 5 years ago. At that time, Qin Jin was still around. Now the old officials had died one by one. The Empire's commanders had also been replaced by the younger generation. The wheel of history did not care about anyone's unwillingness or unwillingness. It only rolled along with time, crushing all oaths and dreams. Not long after, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi walked up to the palace side by side. The officials knelt on one knee and saluted, shouting, "Long live." Before the ceremony began, the manager of the Heavenly Book Pavilion, Ji Lin, walked forward shakily and picked up a scroll to read. Recently, the Heavenly Book Pavilion has collected a total of 2 low-grade heavenly books, 23 earth books, 97 spiritual books, and 214 personal books. This is the detailed table of contents. Please have a look, Your Highness. After reading it, Qin Yin said happily, "Manager Ji Lin, thank you for your hard work." Then, this afternoon, the Minister of War, Feng Jixing, will personally lead the Imperial Guards to the Heavenly Book Pavilion to collect the books. All the Heavenly Book weapon embryos will be stored in the military warehouse and distributed to the major armies for use. Ji Lin bowed his head and said, "Thank you for your grace, Your Highness." The Heavenly Compendium Pavilion had been established for a long time, and it already had over 100 earth tomes in its collection. Handing all of them over to the Ministry of War made Feng Jixing feel like he had suddenly become a rich person. This was also the reason why Qin Yin appointed him as the Minister of War. Once Feng Jixing became the Minister of War, he would be able to control a huge amount of resources. At the very least, the Longdan army camp and the Imperial Army would not suffer any grievances when it came to the distribution of equipment and rations. Not only would he not suffer any grievances, but he would also be taken care of like a son. When the ceremony began, everyone gathered outside. Qin Yin was dressed in a deep purple robe with golden embroidery. Her hair swayed in the wind, and she was indescribably beautiful. She looked behind her and smiled, "Princess Shi, Commander Yu, follow me to lead the oxen and plow." Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu gladly walked forward. At this moment, the great deacon of the Divine Temple, Xianyuan Hong, held the imperial edict in his hand and walked on the high platform. He began to read the Empress's spring plowing festival dedication. His Saint Heaven realm cultivation was contained in his voice, and it was very loud and clear. Even the crowd of commoners hundreds of meters away could hear him clearly. While Xianyuan Hong was reading the imperial edict, Lin Muyu hitched a plow to an ox and led the ox on a piece of land dug out by the imperial guards. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi each held a plow and followed Lin Muyu to open up the wasteland with smiles on their faces. In the distance, the commoners cheered loudly and knelt down in droves. The Qin family had been the hegemon of the continent for 10,000 years. Compared to the insurrection and the brutality of the nation, they were still considered kind to the people. This was also the reason why Qin Yin was so popular. Moreover, many people came because of the Empress's beauty. Looking from afar, the beautiful woman in her fluttering white robe was like a fairy that had descended to the world. How could they not be excited? Lin Muyu slowly led the oxen forward and said softly, "The demon clan has made a move. These days there are constant reports from the Yushu, saying that the demon clan's armored demon army is constantly gathering in Winterfrost City. According to the speed of their troops, the demon clan will definitely attack the steel protective wall in Sangnan province within a month." Yes. Qin Yin nodded gently. There will be another war. Lin Muyu smiled. This time let's fight for the victory. Oh? Brother Yu, do you have such confidence? Yes. Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and recalled the situation of the magic crystal cannons firing last night. Qin Xiling had mastered the collision explosion technique, and every cannon could basically make a sound. The only shortcoming was the range, which was at most 500 meters. It had to be very close to the target to have a miraculous effect, but this was also something that could not be helped. Due to the lack of technology, it could only be improved slowly. However, Lin Muyu had already ordered Qin Xiling to cast magic crystal cannons in batches. In the next war, the magic crystal cannons would have a miraculous effect. Qin Yin did not know what Lin Muyu was thinking. She just smiled and said, "I don't care. Anyway, I will personally supervise and lead the army in this war." Oh. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and extended the spirit pulse technique to explore the flow of battle energy in Qin Yin's body. Unexpectedly, she found that she could not see through Qin Yin's cultivation. The power flowing in her body was not the pure king's fighting flame, but a mysterious power that was several times more tyrannical than the king's fighting flame, divine power. Could it be that Qin Yin had stepped into the godly state? That should not be the case. Breaking through and stepping into the godly state at the age of 25 was unprecedented. Even if Qin Yin was talented, she could not be this powerful. As if she could see that Lin Muyu was examining her, Qin Yin chuckled and said, "Don't look at me. I am only at the Holy King's state. However, I am confident that I have more than a 30% chance of winning against a divine lord. 30% is not enough. I don't care. Anyway, I don't agree with you leading the army in person. I'm going anyway." "I don't care." Tang Xiaoxi, who was listening at the side, felt her scalp go numb. Good heavens, on such a holy ceremony, can you two stop being so willful? "I don't care. Anyway, I am going to participate in the war." From afar, Feng Jixing crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi plowing the field. Suddenly he sighed. Zhang Wei squinted his eyes and asked, "Commander, what's wrong?" Feng Jixing nodded. His eyes gleamed with wisdom and said, "I don't care. Anyway, I'm going to the brothel to drink tonight. Once the war starts, I won't have such a chance anymore." Zhang Wei's body trembled. He did not know what to say at all. His whole body was in a mess. In the afternoon, Feng Jixing transported batches of Heavenly Book embryos from the Heavenly Book Pavilion. This made Lu Feng, Lu Ying, Ouyang Bao, and the others in the Heavenly Book Pavilion feel distressed. However, this was fate. The scholars who entered the Heavenly Book Pavilion were destined to be a tool to produce heavenly books. The meaning of their existence was to write more and more powerful heavenly books for the empire in exchange for the glory of being conferred nobility. Feng Jixing saw a group of familiar figures before he entered the Minister of War's residence. It was Lin Muyu, Weiqiu, Situ Sen, and the others. They also brought along hundreds of cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp. "I owe this guy," Feng Jixing complained incessantly. "He has been waiting for me even before I entered the door. How can there be such a person?" Zhang Wei chuckled. "He has always been this kind of person." Lin Muyu had already spurred her horse forward. She smiled and said, "Big brother Feng, my good brother, I'm here to collect the Heavenly Books embryo from the Brave Dragon Battalion. Do you think my 5 carriages are enough?" Feng Jixing's eyes widened. "There are only 5 carriages in total. You might as well take all of them and take my life away." "Io, you are treating me like an outsider. Then I will take 3 carriages." "Don't give me that. Do you think you are transporting feces? 1 carriage at a time? I will give you 1 carriage at most." "That won't do. The Valiant Dragon Legion is the #1 legion bestowed by His Highness. If you want to send me away with one carriage, you will need at least two. Absolutely not. There are more than a dozen legions in the Empire waiting for the heavenly book embryos. If we give them all to you, what can we do? At most, we will give you 1.5 carriage. It's a deal. 1.5 carriage it is. I will suffer a loss. Lin Muyu dismounted and opened the door to the first carriage. She reached out and grabbed a dagger. She weighed it in her hand and saw that there were yellow divine characters on it. She smiled and said, "This mid-grade earthly book is not bad. I will accept it. This high-grade earthly book is also of the highest grade. I will take it. And this top-grade earthly book, there are so many good things." Feng Jixing trembled with anger. These resources must be collected and registered. Do you think you can pick them as you please? Brat, put that top-grade earthly book down. I saw it first. Look at how stingy you are. How did you become the Minister of War? If you are so stingy, you should be an assistant minister in the Ministry of Revenue. Lin Muyu saw that most of the carriages were earthly books and spiritual books. There were no human books at all. They were all top-grade weapon embryos. Lin Muyu could not help but walk forward with a smile on her face. She grabbed the reins of the war horse and smiled at the soldier driving the horse. "Brother, come down." The soldier did not dare to say anything. "Yes, Commander Yu." What are you trying to do?" Feng Jixing's eyes were wide open. Lin Muyu flipped over and sat on the carriage. Her smile was very bright. "What else can I do?" "Brother Feng, you said that you will give me 1.5 carriage of heavenly books. I will take all of them. Dream on? No, get down. Stingy. Stingy. I think you shouldn't be called Feng Jixing in the future. Just call yourself Feng Stingy. We're brothers. Don't tell me that this cart of military supplies isn't worth it. Move aside, I'm driving the horse away. Don't get hit by it, I can't afford it." "Brat, don't go." Feng Jixing still wanted to say something, but Lin Muyu had already galloped away on her horse. In a flash, she disappeared from the Ministry of War's Minister of War's residence. How was this collecting resources? This was no different from robbery. Feng Jixing was so angry that he gritted his teeth. "My heavenly books. Brat, I am so angry." At this moment, Situ Shui walked forward with a beautiful smile. "General Feng, there are still half a carriage of resources in the Longdan army camp. Do you want me to pick them myself?" "No, absolutely not. The embryonic heavenly books in this carriage are not bad. Come. Let's unload half of them and drive the carriage away. The Ministry of War is overflowing with wealth. We don't need this carriage." Situ Sun was already busy. Not long after, half a carriage of embryonic heavenly books was taken away. Feng Jixing stood there desolately. He felt very sad. It was as if the Ministry of War had encountered a group of robbers. Luo Yu coughed. "Commander, what do we do now? Do we still need to register?" "Register what?" Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and said, "Choose half of the remaining 3.5 carts of earth tomes and spiritual tomes for the Imperial Guards to use. Distribute the rest to the various armies. Also, leave all the low-grade heavenly tomes for the Imperial Guards." "Commander, the inferior-grade heavenly books have been taken away by Commander Yu. Where are we going to find more?" Feng Jixing howled. He did not even have the mood to drink wine. Chapter 577. 18 days later, on the 18th of January, year 7736 of the imperial calendar, the demons finally sent their troops. The rumor had already spread in the human territory. Everyone was in a state of panic. The demons were like a nightmare that haunted everyone's mind. Anyone who had witnessed the demons' slaughter was trembling with fear. Moreover, according to the military reports and rumors, the demons' vanguard was aiming at the steel wall of the Daojiang tributary of the empire. They were determined to conquer it. Early in the morning, rays of sunlight fell on the gilded carpet in the main hall of the Zetian Palace. The officials stood in great numbers, their faces full of fear and uneasiness. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi entered the hall one after another. After sitting down gracefully, Qin Yin said, "It's just the beginning of spring and the demons are invading in large numbers. Someone tell us the military report in detail." "Yes." An assistant minister of the Ministry of War reported, 3 days ago, the demons' army set out from the Winter Frost City in the Lingdong province. The Qianfeng Corps has 140,000 soldiers, including 100,000 armor demons, 30,000 winged people, and nearly 10,000 advanced demons. The Thunder Rush Corps has 210,000 soldiers, including 170,000 armor demons, 40,000 winged people, and more than 10,000 horseshoe people in the Daojiang River. The demons have 150,000 human soldiers in the human territory of the Lingdong province. They have a total of 510,000 menacing soldiers. Qin Yin couldn't help but gasp. She had only heard the rough information about the demons' military strength. Now she knew that the demons actually had so many troops. Xiang Yu frowned and didn't say anything. Su Muyun cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, there's no need to be afraid. Since the Empire and the demons have already fought at the Steel Wall, there's no need to be afraid. The demons are also made of flesh and blood. There's nothing to be afraid of." In the crowd, a deputy general said, "It's just that the Thunder Rush Corps has 170,000 armor demons. 170,000. Even 500,000 cavalrymen may not be a match for this army." Feng Jixing frowned and didn't say anything. At this time, an old official with a walking stick stepped out of the ranks. He was Count Qingyun, an old noble who controlled more than one-third of the ore transactions in Lanyan City. Count Qingyun held the jade tablet in one hand and said, "Your Highness, the demons are coming with a fierce momentum, but they aren't necessarily coming for the Empire. Don't forget that our mortal enemy is the Iha kingdom of Lingnan. In this old subject's opinion, it would be better to send an emissary to the demon camp before the war begins and make some promises to negotiate peace with the demons. We can sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight. When the demons and the Iha kingdom are mutually wounded, we can wait for an opportunity to strike." This is the best strategy. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Does Count Qingyun think it's possible for us to negotiate with the demons? Count Qingyun, if I may be so bold as to ask, have you ever seen the scene of a demon killing? I didn't. The demons are ferocious and countless civilians have died to their claws and butcher knives. Moreover, we are nothing but food in their eyes. Do you think the demons will negotiate with food? With that, Lin Muyu said indifferently, if we negotiate, it'll be showing weakness to the demons. They won't hesitate to attack the Empire first, so there's no need to talk about peace. The Blue Cloud Count was startled and said, "Commander, you as a soldier of the army, surely you don't understand these political tactics. Even if the demon race treats us as food, what does it matter if they don't have absolute certainty of victory?" Feng Jixing laughed from the side. "Very well, I also agree with the negotiation. Then why don't you send Count Qingyun to the demon camp as the Empire's emissary? Also, this general will give you a word of advice. Why don't you take a bath in honey water before you go? Armor demons like sweet food, not greasy or spicy food." "You?" Count Qingyun was livid with anger. He took several steps back and didn't say anything else. At this time, Tang Lan took a step forward. "I think your Highness has already made up your mind on whether to fight or negotiate." Qin Yin's lips curled up. Her voice was very calm. "Fight. Our Qin clan isn't used to kneeling. Even if we lose, we won't beg for a moment of peace from the demons." With that, Qin Yin looked straight at Tang Lan. "Duke Lan, oh no, Seven Seas King, I have something I don't understand and want to ask Seven Seas King." Tang Lan's body trembled. "Your Highness. Your Highness can ask anything. Since the beginning of this month, there hasn't been a single letter from the Seven Seas province to the capital. Apart from that, there hasn't been any news from the Seven Seas province and the Divine Temple. It's as if the Seven Seas province has disappeared from the map of the Empire. May I ask the Seven Seas King, I think you know best what happened to the Seven Seas province?" Qin Yin's gaze was like a knife, causing Tang Lan to feel a prick on his back. This old subject also doesn't know, but this old subject will immediately send my servants to the Seven Seas province to mobilize troops to fight the demons. "That's good." Qin Yin said indifferently, "How about this? Xiaoxi is a descendant of the Tang clan and also the bloodline of the Seven Seas King. I will send Xiaoxi to lead the national army to the Seven Seas Pass to take over the troops of the Seven Seas province. All troops of the Seven Seas province must immediately hand over the sword seal to Xiaoxi after leaving the Seven Seas Pass and listen to Xiaoxi's orders. In this battle, Xiaoxi will command all the troops of the Seven Seas city. What do you think, Duke Lan?" Tang Lan trembled slightly. "Yes, this old subject obeys." Qin nodded happily and stood up. She looked at the officials and said, "Then let's start the battle. Luo Yu, listen up. This general is here. Leave 30,000 Imperial Guards under your command to defend the capital." "Yes." Qin Yin continued, "Feng Jixing, listen up. This general is here. You will lead the remaining 30,000 Imperial Guards to fight with me." "Yes." Qin Yin took a deep breath and said, "Receive my orders." King of Yunzhong Su Muyun, General Su Yu, 300,000 men and horses in Qiyunzhong province, Marquis of Yunling Lin Muyu will be reinstated. He will command all the troops in the Valiant Dragon Corps and follow me into battle. Yes. Lin Muyu, Su Muyun, and Su Yu stepped forward and knelt on one knee to listen to the order. Qin Yin then looked at the people of the Tang clan and said, 7C King, you still have close to 200,000 troops in Earthstar Province and Northridge Province. Gather the troops with Xiang Yu, the Marquis of Pingnan, and follow me to the Steel Protective Wall to fight the demons. Yes. Tang Lan, Xiang Yu, Tang Shi and the others knelt down. All generals, prepare the provisions and equipment. We will set off in 3 days. Yes. The Empress had issued an imperial edict, and the war was on the verge of breaking out. The entire Lanyan city was naturally shrouded in a gloomy cloud. Other than those generals, there was probably no one in this world who liked war. Late at night, the camp of the Dragon Courage Legion was still bustling with activity. The 3 armies had yet to move, but the provisions and fodder had to go first. Fengshi was already gathering the provisions and sending them out to the Longdan army camp. This time, the Empire had mobilized nearly 1 million troops to fight the demons. They couldn't lose, they had to win. In the commander's tent, the fragrance of tea filled the air. Chu Yao frowned as she brewed tea. In front of her, Lin Muyu sat majestically, and beside her was Qin Yin, who was dressed casually. Does Xiao Yin also suspect Tang Lan? Lin Muyu finally asked. How can I not be suspicious? Qin Yin sighed faintly. Tang Lan has always been disloyal, and the troops of Qihai City have always been unable to be used by us. Now Tang Lan has even cut off the correspondence between Qihai City and Lanyan City. Her intentions are clear, so I can only order Xiaoxi to take over the troops of Qihai City. As long as Xiaoxi controls the hundreds of thousands of troops of Qihai City, I believe the overall situation will be set. Xiao Yin seems to be very confident that we can defeat the demons this time. Chu Yao asked with a smile. Qin Yin also smiled, but her smile was full of bitterness. She said, the land left by my father was originally extremely rich, but in recent years there have been continuous wars and people have no way to live. This time, with the troops of Qihai City, we have used nearly 1 million troops to fight against the demons, which has already affected the foundation of the empire. If we don't win, the national strength of the Qin Empire will be greatly damaged, and we will no longer have the strength to fight against the demons. Lin Muyu reached out to take the tea handed over by Chu Yao, put it to her nose and sniffed it. She said, in order to prepare for the war, all places are collecting and buying grain. Many people have even taken out the grain for winter. If we lose this war indeed, I don't know how many people will starve to death, and the national treasury is a bit empty. For us, the best result is to defeat the demons and recover Lingnan. With the resources of Lingnan, maybe we can still deal with the demons. This war is a battle of life and death for us. Chu Yao said faintly, I don't know military strategy, but I believe you can do it. Well, the night was dark, but it was unknown how many people could not sleep peacefully this night. The starlight sprinkled in the courtyard, and the sound of crutches hitting the stone floor echoed softly. Tang Lan stood under the begonia tree in the backyard of the mansion with a pale face, looking at the begonia tree that had not bloomed yet, and suddenly sighed. Grandpa, what's wrong? Tang Xiaoxi asked softly. It's Xiaoxi. It was rare for Tang Xiaoxi to return to the Qihai Palace to spend the night. Tang Lan's face was a little more gratified and she said, I don't know. I don't know if Grandpa can see this year's begonia blooming. Tang Xiaoxi stared blankly for a moment before replying, Of course I can see what Grandpa is saying. Don't forget that the Empire has many powerful generals. Although the demons are strong, we aren't weak either. We won't lose this war. Even if we win this war, our Tang family will lose. Tang Lan sighed and said, Can't Xiaoxi see that the Empress completely doesn't trust me? Tang Xiaoxi held Tang Lan's arm and said, Xiaoxi is not stupid. Naturally she can see it, but doesn't Xiao Yin trust me very much? As long as I lead the 300,000 soldiers of the Qihai province to defeat the demons, I will definitely be able to win back Xiao Yin's trust in the Tang family. What do you think, Grandpa? Perhaps. Tang Lan smiled slightly. Will Grandpa follow Xiao Yin to fight the demons? Yes. Tang Lan raised his head and looked at the begonia tree swaying in the breeze and said, Decades ago, before Her Highness Yin was born, I followed the former emperor to conquer the south and the north. Now, it seems that I have returned to that time. But perhaps this is the ending that the old General Tang Lan deserves? Chapter 578. Tuck, tuck, tuck. In the sound of hooves, a man in a white robe galloped straight into the depths of the Longdan army camp. Feng Jixing dismounted and walked into the commander's tent with the horsewhip in his hand. He looked up and saw Lin Muyu and Chu Yao eating. It was the day before the departure, but they still had an appetite. "Brother Feng, you're here?" Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Someone add another set of chopsticks." "No need." Feng Jixing sat down and said, "I'm not here to eat. I'm here to collect a debt." "Collect a debt?" Chu Yao laughed. "What does you owe Brother Feng?" "A promise." Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and smiled. "You promised me that he would give some to the Imperial Guards after the research of the magic crystal cannon is completed. Now I'm here for the magic crystal cannon." "Magic crystal cannon?" Chu Yao murmured. She didn't know what it was, but she was smart and knew not to ask what she shouldn't ask, so she ate the rice silently. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, don't worry. Even if I gave it to you now, you wouldn't be able to transport it. A magic crystal cannon weighs more than 10,000 jin. A normal carriage would be crushed by the weight. Even if you dismantle it, it would require a lot of manpower to transport it. "Boy, what are you going to do?" "Brother Feng, you'll know when we go for a walk after dinner." "Well, okay." After dinner, the two galloped out of the city and went straight to the forest in the south of the city. About an hour later, the sound of water came from the forest. Feng Jixing was the commander of the Imperial Guards, so he naturally knew the terrain around Lanyan City. The sound of water came from a river closest to Lanyan City, named Water Lin River. It was said that there used to be a water Kailan bathing in the Water Lin River. It was a legend of thousands of years. No one knew whether it was true or not, but the water of the Water Lin River was very deep and connected to the main basin of the Rice River. It was constantly diverted to irrigate the farmland and became wider and wider. Water Lin River? Feng Jixing frowned. That's right. Lin Muyu raised her horsewhip and pointed to the front. I have ordered the logistics troops in the Longdan army camp to dismantle the magic crystal cannons and transport them to the riverside. Then we will dispatch the Navy's warships to transport them. A Navy warship can transport about 3 to 5 magic crystal cannons. The draft is very deep. Adding the weight of the Navy, a warship can transport 3 magic crystal cannons. As expected, after the two of them passed through a bush, they saw a group of soldiers from the Longdan army camp moving the parts of the magical crystal cannon onto the warships. There were dozens of warships docked by the river, and the area within a few miles had been cordoned off. Greetings, Commander. A 1,000-man commander stepped forward and bowed respectfully. How's the shipping progress? Lin Muyu asked. More than half of the goods have been loaded. Please rest assured, Lord Commander. That's good. Lin Muyu looked at the ripples on the Water Lin River complacently. No one knew how long this war would last, but the Empire wouldn't be so passive this time. Feng Jixing was also a little excited and smiled. Good lad, how many magic crystal cannons do you have now? I've sold all my belongings and sold everything I have. Lin Muyu's face revealed a pained expression as she said, in addition to the limited time, I only managed to forge 50 magic crystal cannons. 50? Feng Jixing raised his gaze. I want 20. You're asking for too much. 10 at most. These are my life. No, 15 is at least. Otherwise, what's the use? You have to provide me with cannoneers to load the cannons. Otherwise, the Imperial Guards won't know how to use them, and there'll be a pile of scrap metal. All right, 15 it is. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. These magic crystal cannons will go through the waterway and reach Daojiang. But Brother Feng, don't use them unless it's absolutely necessary. These cannons are quite powerful, but they have very few cannons. I've almost plundered all the magic crystals in Lanyan City. 1 cannonball is 1 less. All right. Feng Jixing said, then how many cannons will you give me? 10 for each cannon. Isn't that too little? Don't think it's too little. It's basically the same. Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. The technology isn't mature yet. After firing a shell, the barrel of the magic crystal cannons will burn red and need 2 minutes to reload and 5 minutes to fire. Otherwise, the barrel will easily explode. Therefore, the magic crystal cannons can only be used as a deterrent for now. I'm afraid it will be very difficult to rely on the magic crystal cannons to destroy the main demon force. All right, I understand. Feng Jixing walked forward and reached out to caress the body of one of the cannons. His face was full of infatuation. He couldn't help but caress it again and again. Perhaps even the girls in the brothel didn't receive such good treatment here. He couldn't help but smile fondly. What a treasure. In a situation where the Empire is only equipped with arrow boxes and ballistae, we actually have such a powerful cannon with such a long range. It's not easy at all. This isn't a cannon. Lin Muyu corrected. The power of law produced by the explosion of the magic crystals isn't fire, but lightning. The explosion caused by high-temperature lightning isn't something ordinary armor can defend against. I'm afraid the demons don't know the secret of the magic crystals. Ha ha, Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu's shoulder. It's great that the Empire has you. If you really died 4 years ago, I really don't know how we'll fight this war today. Don't worry, someone will fight. Yes, but who will it be? An unscrupulous villain like Xiang Yu, a boorish man like Su Long who knows nothing about military strategy, or a scheming general of the Tang family? Feng Jixing looked at him deeply. There are only a few generals that the Empire can use. This is the biggest reason why His Highness values me and you. Don't say it so sadly. We'll set off tomorrow. Brother Feng, have you thought about how to fight this war? I don't know. Feng Jixing shook his head. The demon army is too strong. The armor demons are so brave and good at fighting, but their number is close to 300,000. As for us, although the Empire claims to have millions of soldiers, you and I both know that more than 60% of them are new recruits. They haven't even seen the demons before. Once they see the armor demons and wing people, I can only pray that they don't wet their pants. Ha! Holding the sword hilt, Lin Muyu burst into laughter. Looking at the surging river, she said, Moreover, Yunzhong Province and Earthstar Province are recruiting soldiers on a large scale, but they don't have enough equipment. I've seen some corps in Earthstar Province a few days ago. The soldiers only wear military uniforms without any armor. Most of their weapons are spears. Only the spearheads are made of steel while the spear bodies are made of wood. Although the wood is very hard, I'm afraid it's useless in front of the thick weapons of the armor demons. I can't imagine what it's like for Duke Lan and Duke Yun's men to fight the demons with a pile of junk. Yes. Feng Jixing sighed and said, these new soldiers are the lives of the Empire, but, for the sake of Duke Lan and Duke Yun's army expansion, these young people may die worthlessly under the blades of the demons. Ayu Tang Lan has blocked the communication between the Seven Seas Province and Lanyan City. The imperial capital has no idea about the deployment of all the troops in the Seven Seas Province. I think Master Lan may have some plans. You mean, Duke Lan will attack Lanyan City when we're fighting with the demons in Sangnan Province? Yes. Feng Jixing looked at the lofty outline of Lanyan City in the distance with profound eyes. Lanyan City is the capital, the richest city in the world. It's the location of the 3 ministries and 6 ministries of the Empire. Once Lanyan City is controlled by Tang Lan, I'm afraid that Her Highness Qin Yin won't be able to return to Lanyan City. Once the supply of the capital to the front line is cut off, we're bound to collapse. I'm afraid that it will cause trouble. Lin Muyu smiled. Hasn't Xiao Yin ordered Duke Lan and Xiang Yu to lead the troops to accompany her? It's okay. Besides, Xiao Shi has already gone to Qihai Pass to receive the troops of the Tang family. Xiao Shi has the Iron Order of the Tang sect. She's not afraid that the Tang family won't obey her. Well, we can only hope that the situation will develop in a good direction. Let's go. Tonight, we have to respond to each other and cheer up the senior generals. Otherwise, they've been frightened by the 500,000 troops of the demon clan. Yes. Soon night fell and a bright moon hung high in the sky. The crescent moon caused many scholars and poets to recite poems that had been passed down through the ages. However, at this moment, the crescent moon hung over Lanyan City like a blood-red sickle. Once it fell, the people of the 3 realms would definitely perish. On the high platform of the valiant dragon army, Lin Muyu stood majestically with the star sword in his hand. His cloak fluttered in the wind, and the 3-star general insignia on his shoulder glowed with golden light under the moonlight. He looked at the people below the platform. Almost all the middle and senior generals of the Longdan army camp were gathered here. Nearly 100 people were fighting in a mighty manner. Everyone stared at Lin Muyu. They were all boorish people, but they knew that their commander had something to say. They were all waiting to see what kind of shocking words Lin Muyu, who had once served as the great deacon of the Holy Temple, would say. Ahem. Lin Muyu cleared his throat and asked, Brothers, you and I are all soldiers of the Empire. Now that the 500,000 troops of the demon clan have invaded our territory, they are far stronger than us. I only have one question for you. Are you afraid? Yes. Everyone shouted at the top of their lungs. It's useless to be afraid. Lin Muyu raised his sword and said, It's our destiny to spill blood on the battlefield. Only through this battle can we protect our home. I, Lin Muyu, can't guarantee that you can come back alive to see the bright moon of Lanyan City again. But I promise that even if we die in battle, our valiant dragon army will only die in glory, and not drag out an ignoble existence. I can't promise that we can lead you to victory, but I promise that we will do our best and live up to the honor of the soldiers of the Empire. Everyone turn around and go to sleep. We will set off tomorrow morning. Yes. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.